Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Frenzy Freestyle Sunday on the children of Primus.com as we are waiting for everyone to join us this evening. How is everyone doing on this Sunday evening or afternoon, September the 5th? And as usual, we will get into the weekly news, different discussions on everything Transformers and also into some interesting news that we've seen for the week. Um, so for the moment, let me find some interesting news that we can share while we're waiting for everyone to join us this week. So our main topic for this evening. Let me mute. Our main topic for this evening is whether people prefer to buy Transformers online or retail through the retail. And with the retail side of it, we do have the issue of whether or not the stores have items available, which we know that COVID has had a few issues in terms of has had a few affecting issues in terms of stocking of shelves and also port issues in terms of items coming in from foreign countries into Canada and the United States for distribution. And then also the ongoing issue in terms of distribution, where out of a handful of stores, only so many of them actually get the items. But now there's been also other recent complaints in terms of people buying things from retail and actually either not receiving the items or the packaging has been tampered with. In one case, there was one person who bought Rodimus Prime, I believe, and many of the items that should have been in the box were actually missing, and it was replaced with a water bottle to kind of make the package weighted to make someone believe that everything that should have been in the package was actually in there, which was not the case. Um, which in that sense, one would think, well, if they're going to go in and and tamper with the packaging, would they not have just taken rocks? But they actually were else. When I is unfortunate. You want to buying want to have the experience. of going in the store and buying Transformers figures, basically just as we did when we were children, and with the many lines that have existed over the years. Like, you don't want to have that issue of going in the store and, one, either the store just never has it in stock, or, two, which has happened countless times that I've seen it in different groups of figures being replaced with something else. People buying a figure and then returning it with something else entirely different, and in a sense, almost basically scamming the stores. Whereas, like, now, in a sense, the store is scamming the customer.
Yo!
Mike,
You hear me?
loud and clear.
All right, man. Sorry, I have to show my clean shaven face there.
It's
I'm
okay.
still at work. I'm pulling a double. But there's gonna be times I'm gonna have to run back and forth to help people, I guess, when they bother me.
Bother.
Because I give good customer service. So
Yes.
all right, it's all about the service.
It is, which which many of these retail places, not that you work retail, but in many places that do have retail, and I guess almost in general, like, the service element has drastically fallen over the years.
Yes, it has. I can literally say yes because I've gone to. Well, here's the thing. So I'm in the convention center industry, right? So it's all about service. It's all about customer service, right?
Right.
Oh, now we got two looks of me.
There we go.
Okay. So what happened is that I do pay attention to service, right?
Mhm.
And anytime that I've gone to, regardless if it's food or retail, anywhere, right? I'm always constantly looking at service because I'm on part of the operation management team where I work at, right? So I look at these details, and I just find over the years, services has declined massively. I see people just like service people just avoiding customers. They don't want
Yep.
to give them eye contacts. They don't want
Yep.
you to say hi or acknowledge them. They'd rather just run to the back. If you do ask for help, if you're able to find somebody and ask for help,
Yes.
it's always I'm not sure, I don't know, right? And that's not cool. You should always know your products, your service, your food, whatever it is, whatever industry you're in. You should know your industry and what you're selling, especially, right? Cleanliness has sucked. I think that's one of
Yes.
the reasons why we're in this pandemic because
Yes.
I've gone to a lot of food industries, especially fast food, and I'm going to mention some names, Tim Hortons and so forth.
Hmm.
It's dirty, man.
Yep.
Nothing's clean, nothing's mopped, nothing is dusted. I've gone to some Toys R Us and I'm looking on the floors and I see skid marks everywhere.
Hmm.
Or you could tell even the boxes haven't been dusted or anything like that. Or nicely, like the shelf nicely put in nice displays, or it's called facing, right? So all the
Right.
products are faced properly.
Right.
So none of that is happening. So it's you figure with this pandemic things will change a little bit, but I'm still waiting to see that change.
I'm still waiting to see it too. Which is interesting because a lot of places, a certain handful of places, they have upped their game in terms of cleanliness, and in terms
Yeah,
of their cleaning standards. Which is funny because those cleaning standards should have always existed before, but it's like now they're wiping everything down. Now they're cleaning everything,
some
and
are.
yeah, some are. Others, like, they were doing it for the few weeks last year when they were able to reopen, and they've just kind of given up on it. But there are others, like, they're still constantly cleaning all the time, and then I'm like, that should have just been something that was standard to begin with.
Well, the problem is this. Well, you should also add there's businesses that are actually charging an additional cost for keeping their place clean.
Interesting. That I didn't know, and really that should have been that should have been an extra cost. That should have already been incorporated in their business costs.
That is correct. And the cry is, oh, because we have to, hire additional employees. Well, I'm sorry to say that.
Hmm.
Uh, exactly what you said. First of all, that's a cost that you should have incurred. And if you train your staff properly,
Yep.
then you don't need to bring additional staff
Right.
to clean your store. You should be constantly cleaning. You see a mess, you clean it up. Don't wait for it, to build up.
Right.
Clean it right away. Train your staff properly. Yeah, I'm going on a bit of a rant because, where I work, we take pride.
Hmm.
And we actually go over and above and beyond to keep our place clean and organized. I know it's not a transformer topic at the moment we're getting at, but we're gonna get there, folks.
Right.
This is my episode of Murder Prime right now.
Yes.
Right? But the thing is, it's you're asking people to pay extra for something you should have been doing in the first place,
Right.
and that's not fair. And is that one of the reasons why costs are going up high? That's part of it. Also, inflation and all this other economic stuff as well too, right? Which we're not going to get into. But the whole point is, anytime you're going into any business, it should be clean, well organized, knowledgeable staff.
Yeah.
Understand your industry. It doesn't hurt to smile. It doesn't hurt to say please and thank you. Come again. I appreciate your business. Those are things that people will like to hear, especially when they're spending a lot of money, regardless if it's even $5. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to say, you know what? Thank you for coming. I hope to see you again.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, in one thing, in some industries, and in some cultures, it's almost like customer service is meant to fight the customer. The customer walks in and asks for and requests whatever the item is, especially saying like in the food industry, and it's to the point where I go in the store and I'm requesting an item, but you either half of the stuff that are supposed to be sold, half of them are missing. They're just either out of stock or wasn't made that day, or they're basically trying to fight me in terms of me asking them for the items that they're selling. Like, well, if you're a restaurant selling food to a customer, why is it a problem to sell me the food you're supposed to be selling?
And that's the thing, Mike. So let's get back into Transformers. One of the issues that Target had in Canada is that they send out their flyers and their promotion, and you go there and you find nothing.
Yeah,
you literally find nothing on the shelf, or you may find one or two things. And that was a place that I avoided like the plague or a pandemic to buy any Transformers. It was such a waste of time. It was a waste of gas. There's no product. And then on top of it, you couldn't find anybody in there to ask, hey, do you have this stuff in the bag?
Right.
So that's a big problem with retail, and especially right now. I know with this pandemic, a lot of the merchandise haven't been delivered.
Right.
I'll give you an example. So I'm big in hockey, right? So I coach my son and everything. I manage a team and so forth. I was talking to one of the suppliers for my son's hockey team that are supposed to get our team hockey pants, and unfortunately, they're not able to get those pants in because there's a backlog, and they won't get their shipping until, let's just say, December, and it's not their fault.
Right.
And one of the reasons why they're going to get it in December because all the retail stores have to get their stock in first, which is which all the manufacturers like Bauer, CCM, and so forth, they're only sending out 50% of their stock. So it's a big issue, and here we go. I'm at work. I'm just gonna have to put you on pause for a second, Mike. I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay.
So I mean, as Mike was saying, with everything being with everything being backlogged, um, it's understandable in terms of not finding items in Walmart's, and Targets, I believe Walgreens, Toys R Us, um, but at the same time, this issue has been ongoing for years. I mean, between like the multiple WalMarts within the area that I live, um, and many WalMarts that I've seen that people have shared their images of their local Walmart, and the toy shelves, specifically the Transformers section, has either been a mess or just out of stock constantly, and to the point where it's to the point like I started thinking, why even have this section anymore? um 'Cause, I mean, you go through the toy aisle and you look at like the Barbies, games, like all the toys for, for like babies up to like preschool and like the early ages, and all of those shelves are always stocked with basically the classic toys that that every child has played with for the last 30, 40 years, that are still selling. Any new items, like those are always on the shelf. Like, say same with like all the other sections of games, like the classic games, new games, all the variations of Barbies, like all of those sections are always fully stocked and available for the customers. You go in the Transformers section and the racks are empty. It's like half that, like basically like all the pegs, maybe like one or two bumblebees might be on the hanging. The rest of it's empty. You look on the shelves and there's maybe one or two figures. The rest of it's empty.
Yeah.
And and then this is the majority of Walmart's, like within, like basically within every city between the Canada and the US.
So I'm back, providing good
Hmm.
customer service, making people smile when they're leaving.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, Mikey. What were you saying?
Um, well, I was kind of going off of your point where I was saying like all the Walmart's, Walmart's, Walgreens, and Toys R Us, where you look at all, you like when you walk through the toy section, all the other toys, games, toys for babies, young children, all of those sections are always fully stocked. With new and classic games, and everything's always available. You go into Transformers section, and there's barely anything. Like one or two figures hanging on the rack, and a couple on the shelf, and the rest of it is just always empty.
I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier before about stock.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, in Canada, I don't know, we're always last on the list. That's what it seems like, right? When it comes to Transformers. So, majority of the time, well, personally for me, when I go to Toys R Us, with my son, or to Walmart, like how you said, I always walk by that, the aisle, right, just to see what they have there. And exactly what you said, it's majority of the time it's empty.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what drives, I personally believe, here in Canada, or my own experience, I should say. I shouldn't generalize it. I do a lot of online shopping because of that,
Hmm.
right? And that's when you start ordering, like, from Big Bad Toy Store or ages 3 and up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to wait a little bit for it to come, but it seems to me that's like the only way to go right now.
Right. But I want to say, shout out to Calvin. He's Calvin says, "What's up, everyone?"
Calvin, my man, what's happening, brother?
And I want to send a shout out to Lee, who's joining us for the first time.
All right, Mr. Lee. So what do we have? What do we have on docket for today, man? What's our conversation about?
The conversation is And the conversation was basically between retail and online, which is funny how you kind of answered that.
Oh wow!
Um, Sorry.
I said, oh wow, I should play the Lotterio.
Yes. Um, Hold on, let me mute.
Mike has Astral Train driving by him every 2 minutes.
There we go. Yeah. So basically, within earlier in the week, someone else was sharing images of their Walmart. Um, and again, the same thing, like just the transformer section just always looking empty and almost impossible to for them to find anything. So at that point, it's like, are we just is it just better to buy online? But then also considering that in some industries, a lot of companies are purposely shifting people to buy online, and this was even before the pandemic was happening, where they were slowly making either certain products unavailable in the store, and you could only buy it online, and slowly cutting back on the staff. And if they had any stores, they'd slowly scale down those stores to the point of like shutting them down, and just you can only buy those items online now.
Well, I do see a trend doing that. I mean, going that way. Oh yeah, it definitely did, Lee. It really has brought, just like what Lee said, the pandemic basically brought online sales to the forefront, like Amazon,
Yeah.
right? Our Lord and Master there. That would, you know what? It would have been funny if his rocket transformed somehow. But if
Wait,
you
if
look,
what?
his rocket that he took into space,
Oh, yes.
that giant, transforming into something else. But that would have been funny.
And between the few of them, I think Elon will have a transforming one at some point.
I hope so. I'm rooting for
Yes.
him. Yeah, no, exactly. This pandemic has definitely brought online shopping to the forefront. Exactly what Lee just said, and it sucks to a certain degree. And I see that because I guess I'm old school.
Mhm.
I like doing that toy hunt. I like getting that surprise to see what's there.
Yeah.
Right, and you're like, oh my god, it's finally here! I finally found this Optimus Prime, or I finally got that Shockwave, or oh my god, I wasn't looking for this Unicron and it happened to be here at a good deal, which
Hmm.
I missed out on.
Yes.
Yeah, and it also brings back some nostalgia back, going to Towers, right
Right.
into the toy section there.
Yeah.
But that's the whole part of doing a toy hunt. That's the fun part, and sometimes even do a bit of a drive, right? You go to Walmart and you don't find anything there. You go to another one, or sometimes you go to those specialty toy stores,
Right.
like those comic collection. There's actually a place near where I live called Heroes, and they
Okay.
got massive, massive. And listen, this is a free plug. It's in the Vaughan area, Highway 7. They have like a
Okay.
massive what's called Transformer collection there, and GoBots as well too. They have a whole bunch of comic books and other
Nice.
memorabilia there, right? So it's fun to go to those places and find things, right?
Okay.
It's for me, it's like that whole surprise, like wow, right? But when you
Right.
go online, it's nice to see that hey, this one got released or there's a pre-order. But for me, it's all about the touchy feeling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Picking up that box, looking at it,
Hmm.
you know, turning it backwards, sideways, reading all the specs, and it's just something about having something in your hand, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you can kind of assess the figure, as you're looking at the box, even before
Yep.
before buying it. Whereas, like, you may see the images and everything that led you up to going to the store looking for that figure. And then when you're holding it in your hand and looking at it, then you start questioning, is like, is this figure really what I'm looking for? Whereas like, buying it online, you really have no idea until it shows up at your door.
And you're right, because there's times that I had to pull out, the measuring stick,
Okay.
right? Just hold on. I gotta answer this call. Customer service. Hold on.
No worries. All right. So Calvin is saying, just chilling. Our stores here are kind of bare. The Transformers Kingdom Wave 3 isn't stocked here. Target restock shelves was a lie. It's old stuff from 2 years ago. 2 years ago. That's insane. So I mean, at some point, I could see where they're trying to restock things that haven't sold before. But then trying to resell it as like a new item, um, is misleading to customers, which I've seen in other industries. Like they'll put out an item and say this is like an exclusive item that you have to buy because we're never going to make it again, and people will run out, buy the item, thinking, well, it's exclusive, so I have to buy it. And then 6 months later, they kind of, they come out with it again saying, well, sales were so great, so we're just going to re-release it and make some slight changes. And in some companies, they're like, well, we sold this exclusive item, we're never going to sell it again, and they stick to that rule, as opposed to, we sold you this item, and because we realize a lot of it sold, we're going to sell it again, and it may be for the same price, it may be less, but it kind of creates that it kind of creates a disappointment for all those who first ran out for it, thinking, well, this is my exclusive item, no one's going to get it. But well, now everyone has it because the company just decided to resell it again.
So I'm back,
Mm-hmm.
and what I was about to say before I had to go provide some good customer service. Yeah, there's a few times I had to take out the measuring stick just to see. Because how when you look at the dimension of the transformer just to see the size,
Right.
So there's quite a few times where I'm like, okay, you know what? For $75, I'm just thinking it's like a leader class or a deluxe or whatever case is, because at time it doesn't really tell you in the description what it is, right? But it does give you the measurements. And so when I do take up my measuring stick and I'm like, oh, it's only 2-inch or 3-inch or whatever it is, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be paying up. I'll be back.
Okay. Professor D has joined us on YouTube. When you have a moment, if you're able to jump into the show. And Lee has said, as LOL, I fell for that getting back into collecting when Titan's Return came out with Brainstorm. Now myself, I'm like old school G1, so I know like a lot of the newer figures that have been out over the years. A lot of people will run out for them. But I have seen that with certain newer figures where it's sold to to us Transformers fan, that it's a one-time thing, and then it's like it comes back out again, or one store is selling it exclusive, but then slowly it ends up another store is selling it, or the whole other classic thing of like someone's buying a handful of it and and then selling it elsewhere. But I mean, it's let's say compared to like back in the day where in a sense it almost was exclusive, because if you didn't buy like the original G1 in 84, 85, there was no way of getting it again. There was you know people were barely doing yard sales, garage sales of those figures that just came out. eBay and online sales didn't exist yet, so so that wasn't an option. So you basically, like, if you didn't buy it in 84, 85, like back then, you just got in the mindset of, I'll never see this again and it will never be available again. Not knowing what the future held for us, that there'll be multiple ways to regain these figures.
Yeah.
But I mean, for stores to kind of use that same concept on people of you get it now and you'll never get it again, but now we'll just sell it again and then sell it over again.
No, I agree. I heard the last part where you were saying. So let's see if I can finish my point without another phone call. So yeah, so when I saw some of the prices and I see like this figure, might be on the smaller scale, and it's a larger price, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that,
Mhm.
right? Because you're kind of guesstimating because
Yep.
you just can't really see it in front of you, right? So when you
Right.
do have that box, when you're at the store and you see that same figure, and you're like, you know what? I can see why now it's $75,
Mhm.
right? And I can understand, paying for that price. So okay, I'm okay buying it. But when you do something online, you always have that second guess, right?
Yep.
And then not just only that, you could also get damages as well too. Now they're pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say that's really gonna happen all the time. But if you're like really into collecting the box as well too,
Right.
there is a chance of the box getting damaged, right?
That's true. Yeah, which I believe it was like Amazon at one point, basically just slapping the shipping tags on the box itself, which I found weird because I mean usually in any shipping sense like eBay or anywhere else, like you put the item in an actual box, with some sort of packaging around it to protect it,
Right.
and then the label goes on the outer box, but I just in the last like year or two, um, I've just seen like whatever item that people were buying, like the label stuck on the box itself, like no protection whatsoever from it getting scratched, damaged, tossed around. Because I mean that's a whole other debate when you receive when you receive like the items and on like at your doorstep and the box is all damaged, automatically, again, it's this human mindset. Automatically, you blame the driver. Um, Whereas, like, I've worked in one of the shipping depots for about a week. The way they load those trucks, it's surprising that anything isn't that.
Damage. Yeah.
Yeah, like that like there is. It's surprising, like like that every item is not damaged before the driver even knows of what's in his truck for that day. Um, so people forget that there's multiple hands between the driver who picked up the package from the manufacturer to that depot, where it goes through multiple hands, to then the shipping company that's going out, which then goes through multiple hands, and then to the driver. Somewhere along the line, like unless you have like a caring staff in all of those lines, the box is going to be damaged.
And that's when you say, what are you gonna do? Right. So, you know, um, yeah, retail is becoming a bit of a dying breed. And what we're
Mhm.
gonna end up seeing more and more in the future, I think you're gonna start seeing a lot of niche places that you
Yeah,
can go to instead of like the general store. If you notice, like Walmart and even Best Buy, they also have like their own classified at what's called how do I say it? They're
almost like
well,
an affiliate third
yes,
party.
thank you.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's where I'm getting at. I was gonna try to sneak in a plug for us there, but you know exactly what I'm getting at, right? So
Yeah.
if you go to like there's time that I've gone to Best Buy without even noticing it, and I'm looking for, I don't know, let's just say a laptop or whatever,
Hmm.
and that laptop is not necessarily sold at Best Buy. It's actually, like how you said, a third party, and it's gonna get shipped by, I guess, by Best Buy or something like that, or they're trying to do like an Amazon scale kind of
Yeah.
operation.
Yeah.
And I see Walmart doing the same thing as well too, right?
Yes.
So you have Walmart, you have Best Buy, you have obviously Amazon going into that route, and maybe other companies that are doing that. They're just gobbling up everything.
Yeah.
So, stating that, you got to go to childrenofprimus.com,
Mm-hmm.
where you can find Transformers.
Yes.
You don't have to go through filters.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to check to see if it's a third party
Mm-hmm.
selling it. Here, you know who's selling it. You know what you're getting,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want, you can even negotiate with that person. So check out Children of the Primus Classified. You can basically buy and sell any Transformer, and not just only that. You can also sell transfer related stuff as well: comic books, DVD, video games, anything and
Mm-hmm.
anything that it comes to Transformers. So check out childrenoftheprimus.com. And Professor D said, "Damn, those measuring stick jokes are just damn too easy. Just gotta leave them alone."
Yep.
Well, I purposely did that because I was hoping D will jump on and go, "Yo!" That's what she said.
Well, and he says the thumbnail game is on point this week, so props to us. And he's watching, so he'll try to join in later if he can.
All right, come on, D, join.
So Lee, I believe you mentioned that you're in Oshawa. So I guess what is in terms of the availability of Transformers out there? Um, and then your comment is, I hope that's the case with Coneheads. I missed out because of the Amazon debacle. Um, now I'm not aware of that. Like Mike, would you know
No,
of that?
no, I'm not aware of that either as well too. If Lee, hey, listen, Lee, if you want to even join us, talking to us, like literally talking to us, let us know. We can send you a link.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little bit of a different show. We actually invite guests to come on and give us their Transformer story and or want to talk about the topic right now that we're talking about. So if you want to join or hop on, let us know, and we be more than happy to send you a link. And you too, Calvin. It's open to everybody and anybody.
Yep.
Yeah, the Coneheads. I'm not sure about that.
Because actually, well, going back to Mr. Calvin's comment earlier, was he was saying just like Grimlock and Grimlock and Wheelie, Target here in Minneapolis, have a lot of them, and that has been the one thing that I believe, like last year, with the lockdown happening, and the lockdown even different in the states than what was happening in Canada, because a lot of people didn't realize the issues we were having here. Um, but from certain characters that came out, like say Thrust, for instance.
Here we
um,
go, thrust again.
yeah, it's always Thrust. It's the one that I remember the most.
Measuring sticks, thrust. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, we're not going down. We're not going down that road.
Come on, D. Oh, hey, Lee wants to join.
Oh, cool. Let us send the link.
The more the merrier, guys. That damn Astro train. And thrust.
Yeah, but I remember at the time a lot of people were were aiming to get Thrust, and it was that problem of, say you take 100 Walmarts and say there was like 1,000 Thrusts that came out. Logically you'd think, well, each of those Walmarts would have like how would the math work out? I believe like 10 of them. So say you split 10 Thrusts into into
Of the
each
100 stores.
of the 100 stores.
Yeah.
Um, that would be the logical sense, because you think, well, Transformers have had fans for up to 40 years. You want to satisfy those fans, and so let's make it available to everyone in every city, every province, every state. And and everyone will be happy. But instead, it's like, we'll send like 500 of them to like the furthest eastern state of the, of the furthest eastern region of the country, and then stock all of them in one store. So at certain points, people will send pictures and be like, yeah, I ran in and I bought one or two of them. The store still has like a million of them on the shelf. Everyone else will be like, I bought a bunch of them. The store still has a million of them on the shelf. Everyone else, we can't get them. Our stores are empty.
Well, the part, okay, well, it goes back to what we guys were talking about last week about scalpers, but at the same time, too, you also have to blame data analytics, or
Mhm.
analytics data. I can't remember is the correct term. Where now
Yeah.
you have these companies that are coming in, and they look at all the data, right, and they can literally see what moves during what
Mhm.
day, at what hour, at what location, right? And so part of that is that you may have, let's just say, more Transformers fan in Vaughan versus downtown Toronto, right?
Mhm.
So that's why you will have more thrust
Yeah.
in Vaughan, or let's just say Scarborough. They don't like thrust at all, right? They find Bumblebee's the biggest seller there, so you will have more of a collection, or more Bumblebees in stock versus thrust, right? So when you're in those kind of areas, fortunately, you're shit out of luck, right?
Mhm.
And that's where you got to go drive. But at the same time, that's part of the fun of the hunt.
True, but I mean, it depends. At a certain point, it is fun to drive around different stores hunting for things. But then there's certain times where you just want to go to the closest store, get it, and then like go back to whatever you're doing. But then I'm going to counter argue the data analysis that you just mentioned. Could they bring in a company to do a data analysis and say, well, this store is more popular in selling Bumblebee, and this store is more popular in selling Thrust, so we're going to stock it that way. um, the problem is, if a character has never come out before, you have no analysis on it, because you can't do analysis on something that doesn't exist. So at what point did they say, well, we already assume nobody in this city is going to want this character, so we'll just never send it in the city. And then all of a sudden you see, like, like just constant posts, hey, we live in this city, why can't we get this figure like
Because
everyone else?
it goes back to what's called, I just have the word right in my hand,
Mhm.
demographics.
Right.
So they look at similar cities that have maybe the similar demographics and similar buying purchases, and all those stuff, right?
Hmm.
Um, I feel like I'm back in taking my marketing class in college. So they look at all the psychological, elements in buying, purchasing, right, or buying habits in similar,
Hmm.
cities and so forth, right? So they take those data and or sorry, the data, and they compare, right? And so that's why you have those companies that come in. So like a red jacket, let's just say,
Hmm.
will sell on a Thursday in this particular location at 4 p.m. So don't even bother selling a blue jacket. Sell that red jacket, right?
Right.
Because that's what time that people are going to come there and buy.
Hmm.
So you could take that same example, and you can put that with all the toys. But here's a really simple solution to all this. You ready?
Here we go.
You pick up the phone,
Hmm.
you call the location where you're going to go, and you say, "Hey, do you have thrust?" But it goes back to what we said even earlier before:
Customer
customer
service.
service.
Yes, that's why I started laughing, because there are some stories you're going to call, and first they'll, well, actually, before you even get to that step, first you have to get through to someone even in that department.
Press
Um,
one, press
you know,
two, press
press one or press
three,
two,
press
but
five,
then
press 10.
it's either just going to ring and no one answers it. I mean, some departments have been scaled back where they don't have staff in that department anymore. So it's basically just whoever happens to just be working nearby,
Yep.
also just happens to be the person of that section, but they have no idea what's in that section.
No, and again, it's you always keep on saying to people, or anybody that working in any industry, be the champion of your industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? See what you're selling, help
Yeah.
people. That's how you get people to come back, right? And especially for us old cats, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't got time anymore, man. We got kids, we got things to do, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes you just want to say, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna call the place, and if they got it, fantastic. If they don't got it, well, guess what? I ain't going nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where online steps in. That's how they get you, the online people,
Yeah.
right? They're waiting in the background. They're like, yeah, get upset, Mike.
Yeah.
Get upset. They don't got it, but we got it. Come online, check us out.
I see Leah's almost joining us.
All
You just
right.
gotta get your either your camera, your mic, or both working, and then we can bring you into the room. Um, actually, hold on 1 second. Okay. So you may not be able to join us this week.
Oh,
Unless can get something working, but we're always here every Sunday 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you can get it working, and jump into the chat, we gladly appreciate it. Um, now, Mike, going to what you were saying earlier in terms of staff knowing what they're selling. Um, when I used to work in a bike store, and the funny thing, I worked in the service department because I actually didn't like working sales.
right.
Um, the funny thing is, I'm actually the better salesperson than the people who work sales, because I'd sell the bikes that don't come back with issues, and I know exactly what the bikes were,
Hold on,
what
Mikey.
made them.
Hold on. I gotta put you on. I gotta got on hold because I gotta go help somebody and be right back.
All
Hold
right.
on.
So, well, so I'll hold on to that comment until Mike comes back. But yeah, sure. Thank you, Lee. Yeah, it'd be cool for you to join us when you're able to. And anyone else watching, if they would like to join, like we would appreciate it. As I mean, we just talk about anything and everything Transformers related. In terms of constant stories that we see in like all the different groups. And then the issues that people have been dealing with over the years. Yeah, Mike, you were saying?
No, like the thing is, what you were saying is that you were working in the bike shop, right? And
Oh,
you're the service
right.
guy,
Yeah.
and you actually did more sales. And the reason why you did that, Mike, is because you weren't there to sell.
Hmm.
You were there to help educate, and people actually gravitate to that, right? Because
Yeah.
once I talk to a knowledgeable person about anything, house, car, transformers, especially transformers, man, come on.
Hmm.
Um, I don't feel I'm being pressured to buy something.
Right.
I feel,
And
I feel like I'm getting hyped to buy something, right? Because the thing that I want to buy, now
hmm.
this guy's telling me, or this person is telling me everything that I need to know, and then some.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna want to buy, right? Versus a guy go, yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, here, buy it. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. Like I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, the specs. I want to hear the transformation. I want to hear,
Hmm.
the product is amazing in a sense of, it's on these, the hands are very artistic and posable, and the
Yeah.
colors are fantastic and stuff like that. That's what I
Yeah.
want to hear.
You know,
Not that,
and, and
not you're gonna take care of me, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and it's funny with as you're saying, it's like you don't want to deal with the sales guy. Where I remember in the bike store, one guy was selling was selling a bike to this one lady, and he sold the water bottle, um, basically saying that, buy this water bottle because it matches your eyes. And I'm like, that's not like, that was like, he was a true salesman. Whereas, like, I would sell
How you
someone a
doing?
water bottle of, like, yeah, like, I was just like, well, I use this one and it works. That one over there breaks, so why not get this one? And a person like, cool, I'll get this one. Whereas, like, he'll sell you the one that breaks because it matches your eye color.
No, and I agree, especially when it comes to third-party transformers, right?
Hmm.
Like there's so many good companies out there, and you're guessing which third party should I buy, right?
Right.
And sometimes you just don't know. You just like you're looking at it and you're just guessing and you're pondering. You don't know if you should hit that that enter button on your keyboard to purchase it.
Hmm.
But it's cool that you're able to at least communicate with somebody and they could tell you, you know what, get this particular third party for this particular figure because it actually has more, I don't know, more parts to it.
Hmm.
There's less kibbles. The transformation is actually easier,
Hmm.
or it's really realistic. This one's really cheap plastic, but this one's like made out of metal. That's why you're paying a little bit more. Yeah, stuff like that, right? Like I've always said to myself or anybody else, I like to talk to knowledgeable people when it comes to anything and anything when I'm buying. And sometimes when you do buy things online, you know, that experience is not there, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you a perfect example. I've ordered a few things on Amazon, and what I got wasn't was not at all what I was expecting, right?
Wow.
From the pictures, to the product information and everything.
Yeah.
And then even when trying it out, I was not happy, and I'm trying to return this product, and I'm having a hard time,
Hmm.
right? Whereas if it was brick and mortar, and this is where I have to give some positive to brick and mortar companies, right?
Yeah.
Um, you got an issue, you could go there, you can bring that figure saying, hey man, when I bought this figure, the leg was broken off, right?
Hmm.
No questions asked. They'll return it, or they try to fix it, or whatever, or give you your money back or something, right? And when you leave there, at least you're happy. With
Well.
online purchasing, you know what? Maybe other people are having better luck than me,
Hmm.
but in my own personal experience, I don't like it really, to be honest with you. What did Lee hear? What
I
did
mean, I
Lee?
mean, wait. Sorry.
No, I just saw Lee post a comment here.
Okay. I mean, going to what you were saying is, and then we'll get to Lee's comment. With the brick and mortar, it does fall into two categories. And it's less you're dealing with a smaller store or you're dealing with a larger store.
Right.
And I mean, again, funny enough, going with with the bike examples. If you came to the bike store where I was working, and you had an issue with your bike, we would deal with it in the store. Like the service, like us service guys would deal with the bike, look it over, figure out what's wrong with it, fix it up, and give it back to you. You buy a bike at, like, say, Canadian Tire or Walmart, they're just putting it in a box and sending it back to the company that shipped them the bike. So you may not see that bike for, like, say, 6, 7, 8 weeks, while Walmart, or Canadian Tire is waiting to figure out whatever was wrong with it. Whereas, like, with the bike store, you might get it back within a day or two once we look it over and figure it out. Unless it's like a serious issue, then we'll send it back to the manufacturer. And then sometimes in that sense, we'll just say, okay, we'll send yours back to the manufacturer. Here's a new one for you that's, depending on what the issue is, so you're not waiting. The longest you waited is like a day or two, as opposed to like 2, 3 months, and no idea what's happening.
I get what you're saying,
Hmm.
but the good thing about Canadian Tire, the Walmart, if you start yelling,
Yes.
you're gonna get your refund or at least an exchange right away.
Right. Whereas online, it's it's a hit and miss depending on the store.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, depending on the store and some systems, like some systems in place, the moment like a customer has an issue, they're like, okay, there's an issue. Here's your refund, and and we'll deal with the seller. Like we don't want you to deal with the back and forth. But then there's other cases, it's you're almost in a sense like you bought the item, like it's just yours. Like there's no way to
yeah, too
refund
bad.
it, or
Yeah.
yeah, too bad.
Well, the thing is this. Listen, I'm not gonna knock all online stores, right? Like big bad toy store. They're pretty good. I never had any issues with them, right?
Mhm.
Had I I refuse to use eBay because
Yeah.
there's quite a few times I literally got burnt, and I've literally and I'm being serious. I'm not joking around here. I wish I took pictures.
Mhm.
I've bought something and that box had bricks in it.
I'm not surprised. eBay, I believe maybe 6, 7 years ago, whatever changes they made basically allowed sellers to scam customers,
Yeah.
allowed customers to scam sellers. It was to the point like even PayPal disassociated themselves with eBay. Like
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
their system, like eBay just fell apart drastically. Like even myself, like last thing that I sold through there, like I'm just canceling my account because then they changed all their fees, and it's just complete nonsense. Whereas like many years ago, you want to sell something, you sell it, everyone's cool. You buy something, everyone's cool. Like there's no issues. But it's like it's just better not to like even deal with eBay anymore.
So let's look at Lee's comment here. So basically, the whole
Mhm.
Amazon deal was that Amazon missed all of Canada for pre-orders for the Coneheads. Waited a year for my pre-order. Really, a whole year? Yeah, you got patience, buddy. Then they canceled it. Fine shortly after, fine shortly after the refused shipment. So smaller online sellers got the and sold out in minutes. Okay, so he's basically scalpers got them all after, right? So, um, you know what? That's we talked about this in last show, and I know you and D went in great links with Anthony as well too, right? Uh, that's part of the problem with online buying. Now
Mhm.
you tell me if I'm wrong, Mike, but you can literally buy an app, and that app can, you could program that app, and it will just be like bots just constantly hitting like buy or whatever for that particular item or for that pre-order item, whatever it is,
Oh yeah,
and they're able to get these things before I do or before you do or anybody else, right?
yeah.
And that's the problem with online orders. I don't see. Okay, I should say this right now because we're in a pandemic, right? Especially in
Mhm.
the peak. But I don't really see anybody going to a store and buying like all 100 thrust what's it called, transformers off the shelves, right, and then go sell them on children Primus. um you get what I mean,
Right.
like you got to be really desperate to do something like that. But when you have this apps to do things for you, which
Mhm.
you don't need to do anything, you just sit there, hey Ant, and just sit
Hello.
there and let
Hey.
the program run on its own.
Well, but the funny thing is, if I mean, it's unfortunate now. If someone were to really sit down and analyze the numbers, and analyze what's happening, there, and again, it's not encouraging someone to do this, but if someone really sat down and said, okay, the next figure that's going to come out is let's say grapple, like an exclusive grapple, and or not even exclusive, but just grapple's the next hot item to come out, and everybody wants him, but apparently like only 600 of him are going to be shipped to New York, and all the other states and all the other provinces aren't going to have grapple. someone out there is going to be like, you know what, I'm sitting on like a couple $1,000s. Let me just go and buy all these grapples and sell them on eBay and everywhere else because no one else has the ability to get them. You know, which you put that on the fault of like Hasbro and everywhere else. And it's like, well, you kind of created the whole scalping system because you made it unavailable. You purposely made it unavailable for everyone else. Someone will take that opportunity and run with it.
Do you want to jump in, Anthony, or you just want us to?
Give me a point form here. Give me a jumping off point.
So we're talking about our discussion so far for the past hour is basically the recent complaints of many fans and collectors of Transformers. You know, how they handle, you know, how stores handles their out of stock products, right? So for example, you know, a lot of people have gone by Walmart, let's just say, and they look at the shelves and they're basically bare, or it's like you see like 20 bumblebees or something like that, and that's it, right? So, you know, we're looking at how fans are reacting to that, or how they're dealing with that, and what are some of the problems or are causing these things to happen, or, you know, are there solutions out there, right? So,
yeah, I mean, I do. There's a person who's writing. I read a fair amount. His name's Adam Paulus. He runs he usually talks about Star Wars toys because he works at Entertainment Earth and does reviews and things and answers questions. And he's always said that from his perspective, the retail presence for toys in general is not what it used to be and is less important these days. And that might be a factor towards why like average Walmart shelves tend to not be stocked very well, because it's just not like the moneymaker it used to be from a business perspective. I can't speak to the veracity of that, but that's the impression I've gotten from that one insider's writings on his like blogs and letter columns and stuff.
well, I can see. Sorry, Mikey. I was just gonna say I can see where he's coming from, because when you have Star Wars figures ending up in dollar stores,
Well, it's funny. I would say from the point of you know, from a parent perspective, and it's like I forgot that point, and I'm surprised that writer brought that element into it. Us growing up, you know, back in the 70s, 80s, I mean, even early 90s, like toys and creativity was our thing. Like, you know, you're either outside playing and just having fun, or you have toys. And you know, and again, us being old school, it wasn't this argument of like, well, you know, G1, like I'm not buying G1 because this other figure is better. And I'm like, there wasn't any other figures. It was only G1. That was it. But I mean, you know, we all had GoBots. A few had Voltron. We all had our Transformers figures. But toys back then meant something, you know, for birthdays, Christmas, you know, like, you know, and just you know, you get like the catalog, like the yearly catalog. I think probably like spring or summer, and like automatically you're already circling all the things you want, like your wish list for Christmas. But now being a parent and having children, understand, like noticing that toys aren't an interest, because it's either between apps, online games, and everything. But then what's funny with with on one other point that you mentioned. Actually, sorry. Go say your points again.
Well, that it's a smaller market now, so that big box retailers consider it to be less important.
So I'm gonna jump in there for 2 seconds. It's like what you said before about creativity, Mike. When we were kids, let's be honest, a lot of us weren't very fortunate to have video games, right? Not everybody.
I didn't.
Whether not everybody was able to get an Atari or a ColecoVision. You know,
like we had one, like there was always one
friend or the Commodore 64, right? But there was always that one friend, right? And so Transformers for me was almost like my version of playing video games, right? That was my own, that was my VR in a sense, right? Where, you know, I can battle, you know, Optimus Prime with Megatron and all that kind of stuff, right? When you look at Devastation on PlayStation there, and you're playing that, or you're playing War for Cybertron or whatever the case is,
So that's like what you were doing, basically.
exactly, right?
Mhm.
So do I really need to go out there and go buy those toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hey man, hey, I'm looking good there, man. With the beard and that.
Business Mike and casual Mike.
I know it.
Yeah.
And the funny part is that I'm still at work. So from 7 o'clock this morning, mind you, okay? So yeah, so going back to what I was just saying, it's weird how today kids are, and I think it kind of aligns what Anthony is just saying right now, right?
Okay, now I remember one point within what Anthony was saying in terms of the store shelves not being stocked and stuff. It's strange because what I had mentioned earlier is when you go into toy aisles of Walmart and everything, between the toys between the toys from like babies up until like the preschool age and everything, all the classic stuff that we had, like all newer stuff, those shelves are still always stocked. You go in the Barbie section, that section's always stocked. Board games and everything else always stocked, and I mean, like now years later with like video games, like those are always stocked as well. Transformers, barely. It's almost like we just we just don't care about this one aisle out of the 5-6 aisles that exist, but everything else will always be stocked. Just that one section with like the He-Mans, GI Joes, and Transformers. Like it's a whatever it is aisle. If we stock it, we do. If we don't, whatever.
But here's the thing too, Mike. You got to look at it, and I'm going to go back into economics here. You have to look at business cycles, right?
Mhm.
And how product shelf life lasts for. So let's face it. Lee made a comment about getting back into collecting, right?
Yeah.
So when Transformer Michael Bay Transformer came out, there was the generations that were coming out at that same time, or just before the movie came out, and that line was actually a really good line, kind of kickstarted Transformer, because all those figures were pretty good cartoon accurate figures, right?
Mhm.
And then also again, the movie helped push the sales and re-engage people back into Transformers again, right? So it brought like people like you, myself, to that nostalgic time, and then also introducing that to our kids and also to new viewers of Transformers, right?
Mhm.
So you had like this really big push or this big sale or this big how do you say it again, interest into Transformers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, like any other cycle, it's gonna have its peaks and valleys. So once that, I guess, hurrah is kind of fizzling out, or the excitement starts fizzling out, then
Mhm.
obviously you're gonna have sales are going to start dipping until something else rejuvenates that line again. Now, did Kingdom do that? Did Siege do that? Did War for Cybertron do that? I don't know. I don't think
I,
it did. I think
I,
I'll give you one more example.
mhm.
You had the movies, and then you also had the other TV series that came out, Transformer Prime,
Mhm.
right? If you look at their sales, I would like to look at their sales during their time versus the sales against, again, Kingdom, Siege, and War for Cybertron, right? And compare
I've
those
always
two.
wondered.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what the numbers were with that, especially because like I don't feel like these lines, even though they're hypothetically pitched towards kids, I kind of don't feel like they are, because like are kids watching the Netflix show? Do kids remember Beast Wars? You know?
Mhm. Well, I mean, and that's the one thing where you're talking about children, which I mean, unfortunately, their attention span is is 0.5 seconds compared to our attention span, where we actually enjoyed like sitting down and watching like any cartoon, Transformers, Thundercats, or anything. Like just the intro alone, like we would sit down and
Yeah.
watch that, and then get into the cartoon. Whereas like now, children watching like a Netflix show, like it's bad enough Netflix gives them the option to skip the intro. Like they skip the intro. Like a 30-second intro is too long for them. Like they're losing their life waiting 30 seconds to get into a show. But
Sorry to laugh because I was watching Thundercats the other day
mhm,
with my son, and the intro came on, and I'm just singing along like word for word.
yep.
Thundercats, oh, Thundercats are on the loose, Thundercats. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just going on singing along, right?
Yep.
Word for word. And my son just looked at me. He's like, if he was allowed to swear, let's just say he was probably looking at me, how the fuck do you remember this shit? Like, what's wrong with you, right? And I'm looking at him like, what? Right? So I get your point where you're saying right there, Mike. That is true.
Yeah, and I mean that, and then it's just the children have like a billion options now. Here comes Astro Train. Whereas like back in our day, it's like 4 or 5 cartoons and the toys for those cartoons, and that's our option. Whereas like now, there's 6,000 cartoons, 7,000 toys, online games, different apps, different websites, different streaming services, like for any company to compete with that now,
Too much.
it's too much. It's impossible.
It's too
Um,
much. It really is because sometimes in order to really appreciate something, you got to miss it,
yeah,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm going to use like a hockey analogy. So obviously everybody knows I have my son playing hockey, and there's certain times in the months, right? Like for example, like July and August a little bit, like the last couple of weeks of July and August. I don't want my son doing hockey at all. I want him to go out there and play with his friends, go bike riding, go hiking, go,
yep, yep,
just forget about hockey, right?
yep.
And not overwhelm him because I want him to miss it. So when it's time to get back on the ice and start training again,
Hmm.
he's gonna miss it, and he's gonna be like, yeah, man, let's get back to it again instead of over just overloading him with hockey, and then eventually he burns out. So is
Hmm.
that something happening right now?
Maybe not.
Or what do you mean?
Maybe people aren't getting the chance to miss things, like you said.
Oh, okay, sorry. I said you meant the other.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's just like there's so many options available. It's hard to miss it. With the exception of like exclusive figures. But I was just saying earlier, it's like with the earlier characters from like 84 to 86, like if you didn't buy it during 84, 86, like you end up missing it, thinking that you'll never have the option to ever buy it again. Whereas like all of the new figures that have been out over the last like 10, 15 years, maybe even 20 years, like if you didn't buy it today, like there's a chance you'll find it next week, next month, on multiple websites, there's just different ways of tracking them down now.
So
Mhm.
we got TF Collect here. I too waited a whole year for Coneheads. Just have to cancel it too. I saw other online stores had them, but I figure Amazon will have priority on Amazon exclusives. I was sure wrong, got lucky, and ordered on CMD store last week. Okay, so
I was.
here's an expert.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I was gonna say, I found that EB Games, which has just been rebranded GameSpot, has been like the best place to grab figures online if you're going to do that. That doesn't help you with the cone heads because they were an Amazon only thing. But like starting in 2020, for obvious reasons, I started pre-ordering and ordering things off of there instead of going to stores, and I found that that's like helped me bypass distribution problems a lot. Like I don't get everything off there, but like the kingdom stuff that I've been aiming to get, like I just order it there and they'd either just ship it to me or I'd pick it up in stores, and that's let me sort of bypass the supply chain, you know. Like I
Oh,
like
nice.
I like hmm?
No, sorry, I was gonna say something to finish answer. My bad.
I was gonna say I like going to stores as much as the next person. I like random spur of the moment type things, but I like the idea that the option is there's an infrastructure there, at least in terms of one store, to help me bypass those distribution things. I was just noodling around with Kingdom Scorponok, and he just came in earlier this week because they had him on pre-order for the last couple of months.
Nice.
Yeah.
So my question to you is this, because you are a little younger than us.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned, you kind of answer it a little bit. Like you like going to the stores and doing the hunt, but you also like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
online, right?
Yeah.
If you had to pick either one as your go-to 100%, which one would it be? Either the hunt or online, and why?
Ooh, see, that's an interesting question because there's like multiple personal factors to that for me. A lot of it comes down to the packaging, and let me explain that.
Okay.
Um, I'm big on like quality control on figures. I'm a little bit compulsive about that. You know, I want like all the paint to be good, everything to be good in the box. So if I have the option to go get something physically, um, I would rather do that because then if there's like 4 or 5 of these guys on a shelf, I can make sure I can pick the best one and grab that.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, there's a trend now towards windowless boxes. The new leader class figures are going to start to have that. So that's trickling down. So when you get to like uh, big windowless boxes or like Generation Select stuff where it's just perma sealed, I'm like, then I'd almost rather go online because there's no advantage to me getting it in the store because it's not like I can check it, right?
Right,
Like whatever comes here comes here. So if that's the case, then I might as well get it online. So I guess my answer is, if I'm getting something if I'm getting something in with a window box, I prefer to go find it in person. But if it's going to be a boxed thing or like an import thing or whatever, I might as well just get it online because, it's often easier.
I mean, and that's funny because thinking back of the G1 characters, um, it would be kind of the same mindset of you get to feel the box and look at it and everything, and with it having a window you get to see inside what you're buying, or if it's on
Yeah.
the card with the plastic packaging, um, with a few exceptions. The only exception that I could think of from 85 was Omega Supreme,
Yeah.
because like you couldn't see inside the box, like you only saw the box, but
Yeah.
really out of like all the figures he was the only one, whereas like everyone else you got to see exactly what they look like before you bought it.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was going to say, I definitely remember there were figures that I decided not to pick up because I saw them in person and decided they didn't look good, and then there were figures that I did decide to pick up that I hadn't planned on it because I saw them physically and was like, oh, that actually in the flesh, actually, or plastic rather, actually looks pretty nice.
Yep.
But this is all dependent on them having packaging where I can see them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which and,
Mhm.
and that's a factor too because they're trying to be environmentally friendly, which is probably a good idea. So if that means the end of window boxes, then I guess that means I just move online full time.
Right.
Yeah. Plus, I've just seen a couple of things around floating around the Facebook groups and social media and stuff where a lot of these windowless boxes are getting toy swapped way easier than the old ones with the windows used to be because you can't see in them.
So okay, great. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was gonna about to say that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What guarantee you have of that toy, like sorry, that figure that you ordered, right? That
Yeah.
exactly the figure that you ordered.
Well, I mean, if I'm buying it online straight from the warehouse, I'm going to presume there's a little bit more security than getting it off a store shelf, you know?
I get what you're saying, Anthony, but my whole thing is this. Sometimes, companies, and I hate saying this because it's true. That's why I'm saying this. Sometimes they just want to get rid of product,
Yeah.
right? And since it's windowless, and hey, let's just get rid of it. And then once you guys get it, it's your problem after that, not mine. And I was mentioning earlier in the show with Mike, there's times that I've ordered some stuff on Amazon, and I had really bad experience because as soon as I got the product, it's not what it is. It's not what I ordered, right? And for me to try to return it or exchange it or something, I'm jumping through like fire hoops, right? It's just not working.
Yeah, I guess that is.
Yeah. So again, if I'm one of these these stores that are selling these transformer windowless boxes, how do you know you're getting it? And if you don't get the right one that you order, how are you going to get your refund back after?
Yeah, that is true. I've never had to do an online refund, I don't think. But also that, by percentages, I've bought way less things online than in person. And I realized I have no idea how I would even do that. Doesn't mean I can't learn, but I'm like, I suspect it would be more difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you got to box that stuff up and mail it away.
Yeah, most times you have to repackage it to send it back to them.
Yeah, that sounds like a pain. But like, speaking of percentages, well, I understand. I understand that concern there. I think that the percentage of stuff coming out of a warehouse to you that has been swapped is probably less than things getting swapped on a store shelf.
Yeah,
like overall.
Yeah, but my luck, I'm gonna get that swap.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I'm a little.
And it doesn't matter how loud I scream on my computer, D.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because this all comes together with one thing. Kingdom Rodimus, which I covet. Right.
Yeah.
I missed the online pre-order for that. So I got to try and find it physically. Right. And that's the other factor. What if you miss that deadline?
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing good, but I missed that, so I got to try and find it. And I'm like worried because that's the one that I keep seeing people getting swaps inside. Right. So
I'm wondering if you saw the same the water bottle. Did you see that one? Yes.
Yeah, that's not even the first one I've seen, but I've seen a few of them.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, like that was the first one that I noticed. That I came across that happened, and it's like the Rodimus is in the package, and then there's a water bottle, and it's like the amount of jokes that are like, well, why even keep Rodimus in there? Like, why not just put 2 water bottles?
I think it was a Studio Series hot rod that they put in there. Like the whole figure was swapped.
Yeah, it's like you almost can't like trust it. Like any like you'd think, well, there'd be more you'd have more faith or reliability going into the store, and it's like no, because between like online's either getting canceled or going in the store, it's like it's still a hit or miss in terms of like getting what you actually want.
Mm-hmm.
There's also that possibility as well too. You buy something. Oh, like the Coneheads. You pre-order it. You put your money down or whatever case is, and it gets canceled. Sometimes you may not get your money back.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that because like I'm in the middle of and like these are major first world problems. I feel like I need to get that out of the way. The first of some world problems, just to preface the statement, right?
Yeah.
I also pre-ordered G2 Ramjet at the same time, like the Generation Selects guy. They shipped out at the same time, and this frightening fellow here arrived within like a day or two, and it's been like a week, and Ramjet's still in transit. So I'm just like,
wow.
Do I ask about that? Do I call somebody? Do I email somebody? Is it just taking its time?
Right.
What about Swift?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, let's catch up on the comments. I know everybody has been joining us. So Professor D has said, "Have you guys heard of Amazon Live?" I have heard of it through someone else, and I believe it's almost a similar like live stream that they're doing. So do you think we should start doing live reviews with Amazon affiliate links to sell figures that are currently for sale on Amazon? What would the pros and cons be?
Ooh,
Um,
I'll tell you a
Do we
con
get
right
paid?
now.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait. Do we get
Yeah,
paid?
go.
That's
Show
all
me
I
the
want
money.
to know. If we get paid, it's all pros, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know nothing about that. The first I've heard of it, so maybe I'm way off base. But I'm like, that would involve me having to chase that dragon real hard. Like, I get a lot of new stuff right now because the new stuff that's coming out right now between Kingdom and things is like stuff I want. But if it
Right.
wasn't, I wouldn't be getting as many new things. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know about obligating myself to keep up with the new stuff unless if I didn't really want to, you know.
and I mean there is that I guess that one thing in terms of like the people that follow us, you want to sell them something that you like, and not just sell it for the sake of selling it because a company is like, well, you must sell this, so whatever we give you, sell it whether you like it or not, in order for you to get paid. But it's like
No, I wouldn't want to do it, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
It goes back to what you were saying about the bike shop,
Yeah.
right? I'd rather talk about the product and be knowledgeable, right? And ask any questions and give them a proper answer. And if they're happy what we talked about and they're satisfied that they want to buy this product, fantastic, right? But I don't want to be, hey man, you're gonna like this new product coming out. It's called Scorponaut, and he comes with 3 heads, and he has a tail too, and he's purple and burgundy, and he has
He
a little
looks
pointy thing.
frightening.
Yeah,
Look
and he
at
has a
him.
little thing in the back there, and then you could go pew pew after it, and then, right, and there you go. Now buy it so I can get paid. No, I
Frighten your kids.
yeah.
Yep.
Look at this. Look at his face. With these
That's pretty
bloody
nice.
fangs.
Wow, that's
Wow.
pretty
Yeah.
nice.
I straight up, if I was like 6, I would have been too scared to own this. Like, I know myself.
That's pretty cool, man. Actually,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. I'd rather listen to Anthony or even read a review from Anthony discussing about all this, right?
Mhm.
And to get me to get me all hyped to buy it, but not like you're telling me to buy it because I need to get paid, right? So to answer Dee's question, I probably wouldn't want to do it. Now everybody has a price.
Yeah. And I'd just like to say, I've never heard of this before. I don't know any details. Maybe I'm way off about what it is. So, put that
That's
asterisk on my statements.
that's
I mean,
my wrestling term to Dee there.
yeah, like I've only heard of it from one person so far. But I mean, it's in a sense, now that winter is going to be coming around again, lockdowns are slowly creeping up, and a lot of companies are slowly, not even slowly. I mean, a lot of companies have shifted towards online, so it's like, now they're trying to figure out, well, you know, how do we get personalities to sell our items, or sell whatever we're doing? And it's like, well, if they're doing it over on YouTube or Facebook and Twitch, why don't we jump on board too, and get a face behind our company to sell things we're selling?
Well, you know what? Can you put our Children of Primus website on there?
I could.
Can you please do that? Let's do that because I want people to see our site.
We're ever so proud of it.
Yeah, and we want people to use it. So talk about touching and feeling and seeing things, right? So let's show our site. And it's funny, we're kind of bashing a little bit on the online stuff, right? And we have our own online store, right?
I'm not bashing on the online stuff. I think it has its ups and downs, but overall, it's been pretty decent to me.
But but the cool thing about at least our online store is it's not a store where we're trying to make money, right? We're trying to help the community to sell their own things, right? And
Yeah.
look at that, look at that beautiful site there. Look at that,
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I'm just in it for love of the game, straight up. You
right?
know?
Exactly. That's and that's where you have the difference between if you love doing something or you're just doing it for the sake of selling it.
Well,
It's a completely different sales approach because like, well, if I enjoy this item, I'm selling it to you because I enjoy it, as opposed to like I'm just selling it to you because I'll make a commission and I just want you to buy it. Whatever happened, if it breaks or anything afterwards, I'm not really concerned. I've just moved on to the next customer. As opposed to like I'm selling you something that that I know won't break and that you'll be as satisfied with it as I'm as satisfied with it.
well, and that was the whole reason behind this whole site that Spin and I decided to do, right? Because we love hockey. I mean, sorry, we love Transformers,
We love
right?
hockey too.
That too. We no, because I saw the logo there. So what's it called? We love Transformers, and we want to start our own community. And what best way to help our community is to start a classified site. And really, it's free. It's like Kijiji. It's basically the same model. You could post things there for free. Yeah, there's ways you could help us, to make us a little bit of money, right? But not just, but we're not even asking for much, right? So if you decide to, let's just say, bump your post, it's $1, right? So
Mhm.
if you look at all of our categories in here, we definitely went into great lengths and details. If you want to look just for Autobots, or if you're looking for Decepticons and Autobots, if you're looking strictly for Decepticons, or if you're looking for video games, comic books, CDs, if you're looking for even GoBots, yes, so the Mighty Morphin GoBots,
Mighty
right?
Morphin Go Bot.
You know what I
Go,
mean?
go, 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 go,
Robots.
bots.
Right? If you got a third party, you got Masterpiece, right? You even got statues or Transformer piggy banks. What would you call them? Transformer banks, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
why not?
and not just only that, man. It's not just only for Canada. It's also for the United States. For our American viewers, go on their post. But here's a cool thing about this site as well too, right? We have a person called Anthony.
And that's me.
Yep, and he writes a lot of amazing reviews. Okay,
Yeah.
and and not just only we have tons of reviews that this gentleman here has spent a lot of time writing, but he also took time to take pictures of the figures that he's talking about. So
Oh
this
yeah.
guy's a jack of all trades, and he is a master of everything when it comes to Transformers. And
So I know way too much.
yeah, and you
It's a
know
little
what?
distressing.
That's okay. And then at the same time, too, you can also find out what other events are happening through our site. So if you're looking for the next TFCon, it's up there. Come to our site, use it, abuse it, and have fun.
Don't abuse it. The IT guy and myself will get upset.
Yeah.
So let's catch up on all the comments as Astro Train passes once again.
No problem.
And Professor D says, Orlati, are you saying when you try to return stuff online, you don't get results no matter how loud you yell at the computer?
Nope. Because all I get is Siri or Google tell me, sorry, I did not understand what you said. So
Does Siri actually sass you if you use foul language? I don't have one, so I don't know about that.
um
she
no,
does.
Alexa did that to me one time. So
Ah.
Actually, there was a trick that I believe it was Alexa that D tried asking it, and it gave kind of a racist remark answer.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's the thing with like computers, it's like they're still programmed by people, but a computer itself doesn't realize that it's giving a racist remark to an answer. Um, So I know he would have to explain what the question was, but it was just quite surprising. Like that's not an okay answer in any situation.
But you gotta laugh at those. Come on.
No, I know.
Right.
So Lee has said I wouldn't be so mad if they at least gave an explanation, but no word from anyone. Um, and so yeah, I believe that's going back to the cancellations.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the forums had a lot of people complaining about pre-ordering items, and then it's just like all sorts of cancellations. And I mean really in a sense, if you're looking forward to an item for like how many like months ahead, and then it's just suddenly canceled, like it is disheartening to want to actually go through that whole process again. So as a TF collector says he agrees. So now I'm hesitant to get from Amazon, and I'm hesitant to get Amazon exclusives now. Half the stuff doesn't make it to me, which is unfortunate and crazy.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know much about. I haven't gotten many Amazon exclusives. I got the. I think all I got is the Ratchet and Lifeline set, and that's the only time I ever tried for one. That worked out
Okay.
fine, but I have no experience with that.
Yeah, I kind of stayed away from Amazon. Like, you know what? Amazon for me, it's always been a hit and miss. Like sometimes when I order things from there, it works out, and then there's a lot of things just don't work out. So
Hmm.
I'm with TF Collect, right? Hey Bill, um, it's again, that's okay. I know I'm plugging our site again, but that's why I prefer to use a classified site. So at
Mhm.
least I can contact that person and say, "Hey, I see your ad. I'm looking at your figure that you have there. Can you talk to me about it?"
Hmm.
Right? And then you know what? If that person convince you, then you're like, okay, great. Let's meet up and we'll exchange money for the figure, right? And even though when you do meet up and you do see the figure, you still have the opportunity to say, you know what? I don't want this now because for whatever reason.
Mhm.
Or you could say, hey man, you got more because this is fantastic, right? So
Yeah.
that's the beauty of at least with a classify, right? But with the I don't know, man. For me, Amazon's it's been pissing me off, man. I guess I have a little bit of bias in me.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to TF Collective saying there. I'm sure War for Cybertron going back to the G1 style brought a lot of fans back into collecting. I count myself in this group.
Yep,
Yes, that's valid,
yep,
but here's
yep.
the thing: collectors are a smaller demographic than kids, and that's why it's become more of a niche thing. I think, right?
Yep.
It's great for a collector market to grow and bring people back in, right? But I'm like, that's not as large as the once large coveted kid demographic is. So I think that's the root of a lot of the diminished market space and the distribution issues and stuff, right? Smaller, it's not niche yet, but it's more niche.
Hmm. Okay, and Bill says, I feel most kids don't have the imagination level that we had.
True.
They are used to they are used to the toy doing it all for them. Interactive, in other words, if the toy itself requires you to define how fun it is, it's not worth the time.
Totally agree.
And that's yeah, definitely true. I mean, us as children, um,
It just kind of go back.
us
Sorry, go ahead. Finish that.
yeah,
Sorry.
I was gonna say us as children, in a sense, like having a handful of Transformers characters, like we were creating, Transformer episodes with the characters
Yeah,
that we had, whereas like children now, I mean, at a certain age, they're not interested in it. It's the basically it's like they're on their phones, and it's more the digital side of things. And that same thing of like, how can it do what can it do for the child?
yeah. I
Well,
was gonna say.
no, I was just gonna say this very quickly, Anthony.
Go
It
ahead.
goes back. It goes back to what I was saying about video games, right? You know, when we played with our figures, that was our real live video game VR moment versus
Mhm.
PS4 or Xbox Devastation. Let's just say. But at the same time, too, if you look at the figures that are for kids, like the Cyberverse figures, they're really poorly and cheaply made.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at our G1 figures, yeah, some of them look really weird, but at least they were made, nicely, right? And I see my son sometimes he'll look at some of the figures that I have, let's just say, or even my masterpiece, right? And he's looking at something that I probably bought him at Toys R Us because he kind of liked it, like what's called the Shockwave one there, the Cyberverse one, right? And then he looks at my Shockwave, and he's looking at his Shockwave, and then he's looking at mine, and then he's like, "Why are you buying me this piece of shit for? How about yours now?" Right? So, that's part and partial. I just wanted to kind of piggyback a little bit what Bill just said, right?
Yeah. Now you've given me more to talk about with that, because I was going to say, first of all, the experience that he was describing, the experience that you were describing, making your own episodes, that was 100% my childhood. And the Beast Wars Start of Beast machines. Me and my cousin, we had different figures, and we basically had our own serialized show because we lived really close to each other. We'd see each other a lot, so this is who we are. This is what happens this time. That was my actual childhood experience, so that's like very relevant.
Nice.
I was going to say, here's a vintage Rat Trap. I just picked him up at Walmart a couple weeks ago, right?
Nice.
I didn't have this guy back in the day. This was one my cousin had. There, let me line him up. And you see, this was a good one for kids because it's not like you got the ball joints, you got the articulation, you got the hidden weapons there, and then he's got this really nice spring-loaded one-step thing. And you see one-step things like that these days, but they tend to like neuter the figure just around the gimmick, whereas this is like a fully functional, fully posable guy with like accessories and everything that just happens to have that like one-step feature. And I'm like, yeah, these are what we had in the 90s there. And then we'd line up our guys and be like, this is our cast, these are our episodes, these are the characters.
Nice.
This is just nostalgia for me because this is just reminding me of all that now.
And let's see. And Lee says, "Me too. Combiner Wars got me. Went to TFCon, and that's where it got me back into it. Seeing where Transformers is at."
Yeah. Oh, I hope I can make the December show. I hope to bring that back. That's a great place to be. I hope things are good by then.
And Bill says, I pre-order from a Big Bad Toy Store, and if I get lucky enough to find one in the wild, I can cancel it.
Yeah, I've done that before. That's happened to me. Well, I don't use Big Bad Toy Store because I'm just like Lee's saying right now. I'm a Canadian, so the shipping is not good for us. I heard it's okay for Americans. I know American people that swear by that place because they got
they're good.
They got real good customer service and stuff. It's just not financially feasible. But yeah, I've actually been in that situation where I've pre-ordered stuff online and I happened to find it in a store first and then canceled it, right?
The thing with Big Bad Toy Store. I've done quite a few shopping there, and what I did to help me with the shipping, it's called a loot box.
Yeah.
Right.
And what you could do that you can order a few figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just say you're going to order about like 4 or 5 figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of them shipping one figure at a time, that's where they get you. Whereas you can say, okay, I'm going to put in a loot box, and once you get that 5th figure that you want, or that 4th, or whatever, how many figures you want to order, then they'll ship all those figures all at once, so the shipping is not as much. So that's a little trick that I learned.
Oh, yeah. $4 per piece, $4 American per piece, bro. I wish it was that much for Canadians, or that little,
bro.
Yeah. I don't know. I the only times I've gotten American things is I have very occasionally ordered off of Hasbro Pulse, but even then the shipping on that's pretty murder. It's just that they stock like Takara stuff sometimes, and at that point, even with the import fees, it's cheaper and more convenient to get it from there. So, well,
the funny thing is, I've used again BBTS there, right? I guess you want to go short firm for some of the imports, right? Because I like some of the Takara stuff, right? And
Yeah.
again, I've used that loot box gimmick that they have, right, in order to get some good stuff from them, because I've ordered some stuff from China, and what killed me is that it got stopped at what's called at customs,
Yeah.
and it was there for like a month, and you could
Ooh.
tell you could tell they ripped open the box as well too, right? And then when I finally got it, I got this additional fee that I had to pay on the spot. Thank goodness thank goodness I got a credit card, because otherwise I would have had to say sorry, I can't buy this because I don't have
Right.
cash or anything on me, right? So
Right.
um, so that's why I kind of stayed away a little bit from ordering things from China,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and that's why I've gone with Big Bad, you know, toy store there, right? And with that route, but Amazon, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I mean, I've gotten like regular mass release figures from them from time to time without much trouble, but that's like an uncommon thing. That's just like, oh, I haven't seen this in stores and I didn't pre-order it. Is it online? Okay, here it is. But
Well,
that's like the
look what
lat.
did you see
Yeah.
what TF Collect is saying here?
I'd rather go to a store and buying it. Better chance of getting it during a sale. The pandemic in 2020, supply issues,
Yep.
pandemic killed that plan. I'd be less picky these days when seeing any toy on shelves is a rarity. Oh yeah, I'd love to get things on sale. Cannot rely on that.
Oh
It's
my
funny
goodness.
because Earthrise dropped late 2019, early 2020, and initially there was a lot of stuff in that line where I was like, oh, I want to get this. So I was like, all right, a bunch of this is dropping at once. Every 2 weeks, I'm going to go get me something from the stores. And then that was early 2020, and that just didn't happen. And then I
Hold
just,
on. Hold on. So let me ask you that question then, okay?
yeah,
Have you ever seen at any store prices going down for Transformers?
no. I mean, I've seen sales.
Okay,
Um,
was okay, define sale then, because I want to make sure that we're talking the same thing.
uh, Toys R Us does a fair amount of them. It'll be like, every deluxe from this particular series is X% off.
Okay, so I've seen that during like Christmas or Boxing Day, Black Friday kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
But those are like the givens. But did
yeah.
you ever see an actual sale saying this, like a big sale saying this week, toy, every toy, whatever store that you went to, 50% off or,
Oh,
thirty
God,
percent
no.
off.
I've seen individual things like permanently marked down, like Toys R Us again. I've seen like masterpieces that have hung around on the shelf for a long time get marked down like a fair amount. But
Okay, that was gonna be my second question to you. Have you ever seen a price literally get marked down?
yeah,
I
but
personally
it's
never seen that.
yeah, I have an occasion, but it's always for like expensive big whale items that obviously aren't moving. Um, like masterpiece movie star scream and stuff. I've seen those get like permanently discounted and stuff. But even then, it's not like ludicrously low. Just like, oh, it's like $50 less, and it doesn't seem to be changing. They're just permanently doing that.
Yeah,
uh,
no, I've never seen it. I
yeah,
personally haven't seen it because there's a few times that I was looking at which one was it? I think it was the Ultra Magnus.
hmm
Um, I think the Dragon Seer or something like that, where he has a
yeah,
hammer and it's more like the the Transformer Prime kind of figure.
yeah. I was gonna say that I saw that era, the Platinum Edition stuff,
Yeah, that's
like
it.
5-6 years ago, or even more than that. There were a lot of weird sets that were kind of not great looking, and those are the ones that I would see hang around and just get marked down and marked down and marked down, like giant
So
Cybertron Starscream, like the Gold Masterpiece Optimus, like the clear versions of Cyclonus and Scourge and stuff. Those hung around forever, and those I actually did see just get permanently like discounted.
okay, so you gotta let me know when you see these things because I was looking at that particular one that I was talking about, the Ultra Magnus one.
Yeah, I
It
don't
actually,
remember seeing it happen to that guy because I think that was one that actually moved because that was like an obvious thing that people wanted.
well, the funny thing is, there's two Toys R Us near me,
Yeah,
and I've seen tons of them on the shelves, and not once ever went down in price, and then one day I went in there, and like I said, there was tons, and it was just completely gone.
I was gonna, and to all the Americans in the audience, this is how things balance out. We still have Toys R Us, but you guys get cheap shipping off of Big Bad Toy Store and Hasbro balls. So, it evens out.
Funny enough, in a weekly news, which you can find on childrenofprimus.com, Big Bad Toy Store sponsor news, 1st of September, and it mentions let's see, pre-orders. Actually, they're mentioning about like a bunch of pre-orders. So between the Marvel Legends, Transformers, The Crow, SpongeBob, and a few others. I guess that's what one of the Bumblebees that's available in their pre-orders.
Well,
Yeah, they have this weird line. 3A's doing this line of like non-transforming action figures that are like new designs, and that's like one of them.
Okay.
Wow.
That's pretty sweet.
Remember when we were talking about those chess sets and how they should look different? That's probably the aesthetic you were talking about, eh?
Yeah. No, but that looks really nice. I like that.
Yeah. So D says, if Rolati can't yell at the staff during a return, he likens the procedure to jumping through with free hop?
No, dropping through fire hoops.
Fire hoops, okay.
That's right.
And TF Collect says, BBTS is reliable and you can add to your pile of loot that shipped together to save money.
Yeah, I've heard of that before. I've heard it's pretty decent. That's just or Kingdom Cormac from Walmart and got a damn dinosaur skeleton. I mean, if it was a real dinosaur skeleton,
that would have been awesome.
Yep, that would have been awesome.
Then I'd say you lucked out,
And Bill says, I can look and find you a Rodimus Prime meat. They're hitting here now.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was I think they're just starting to show up in Canada. I used cybertron.ca for sightings, and somebody said they saw one at a EB Games in Oshawa. Now I'm not going to drive out to Oshawa, but I'm like, okay, so they're starting to pollinate. They're just starting to hit there.
Actually, I was going to say we actually got a viewer from Oshawa.
Yes, Lee is from the Oshawa area, so that means he may be seeing it first.
Yeah. I was going to say, Bill Glenn's like, I can look and find your Rodimus Prime. I'm like, are you in Canada? Are you near me?
Mm-hmm.
Is a major first world problem more or less trivial than a regular one? I think, see, this is inverted, so that means it is even more trivial. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I know how much of a Beast Wars fan. Oh, yeah. No, I am a Beast Wars fan. I grew up on G2, but Beast Wars was the second thing, and that was in some ways like more influential because I was a little bit older, so I could get into like online stuff and the lore. So this was huge for me. So Kingdom's just been like my renaissance because this is like all the stuff I was a fan of in like 96, 97, 98 just coming back. So, and I've been living for it. I'm just going to ride this train as long as it goes. I'm getting new comics too, and they're great.
And TF Collect says, I skipped Beast Wars in the 90s. I'm jumping in head first with Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing probably within the age range, I could see that happening.
That'd be bad.
Okay, because myself, growing up in G1, by the time Beast Wars came out, I think I would have been like late teens, early 20s. Late teens since it was 90s. So by then, involved with like after school work, high school, and just getting more into life. Like I only had a chance to watch Beast Wars sometimes. And I did get into the season 1. Just because it was really interesting. Cause it was around the time when Reboot was out and everything. So I did enjoy watching it. I didn't have enough time to fully get into it. and and then I believe it's like season two with like the Transmetals. Whereas like I didn't get a chance to watch any of those. Because I think I was just too busy around that time.
And I'm gonna say season two of that show, compared to season one, season two they went like full serialization, like modern TV. Like this is an ongoing story. So if you weren't like catching it on the regular, you probably would have been lost. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's so well regarded because they went like full serialization. But yeah, you would have had to keep up to like watch that.
And I mean, and that's a cool thing because that is one thing that G1 did miss out on, with
Yeah,
the exception of a few episodes within season one.
yeah.
Um, mhm.
They tried like I not even the multi-parters. There was like an episode that ended with Megatron going in a space bridge, and the next episode he was still gone. So like they were trying in that first season for serialization. There, it might have not totally panned out, but Beast Wars like actually did manage to eventually pull that off.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's that's why that's one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much. When you're like, God, okay, so season two would have been like 97, 98. And I would have been like, yeah, I would have been like 10. So
Wow.
this was heady stuff for heady stuff for a 10-year-old. So you just felt really heavily invested in this ongoing plot that because all of a sudden the second season suddenly everything gets real and everything has
Right.
consequences and
So, and I mean that's funny because you being 10 in Beast Wars, like I was
yeah,
around 10 or 11 for G1. So it is kind of like that
yeah. Well,
magical
there
age to
you
to
go.
get connected into something. Um, all right, so Lee says, "Oh, so cool! I'll
Yeah,
definitely
like
be checking this out. Thanks, guys."
maybe you're talking about our website, maybe you're talking about Kingdom. I don't know.
Um,
Either way, yes.
I'm guessing it's possibly for the Rodimus, since he's in Oshawa.
Excellent intonation reading my comment. Nailed the Professor Denis. I wasn't even intending to do that, but I just hear it in your voice so much that like halfway through, I just realized I like had started doing an impression.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Lee says
Oh, the
he got
Prowl
lucky with
Ironhide two
the
pack.
Ironhide 2-pack. Okay.
I heard that was a messy one to get. Like people were hunting that because the pre-orders were just like insanely difficult.
Oh, that is crazy.
I don't know how I got the one set I did. I guess I got lucky. Yeah, when like heavy demand, and they sold and really interesting because I had Siege Ironhide and Prowl, and I was like, these are good enough.
Hmm.
I just wanted like yeah. The only reason I got the Ratchet Lifeline set was because I wanted a Ratchet to go on my G1 shelf and another Ratchet to go with my Lost Light cast. So I was like, now I have two.
Nice. Okay. And
Any
he
money
says any
exchange for
money is for figures only. Anything else may transpire as strictly consensual playtime activities between adults. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
Or as Alex Baldwin would say, floor time. Yeah, I mean, I'm over here telling these anecdotes about my like me and my cousin just making up episodes, and you're trying to turn it into
Mhm.
don't go near that. Yeah, yeah. Shipping to Canada can be upwards of 30 Canadian. Paddle Loot definitely helps, but it's really not worth it for only a figure. Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. That 30 is about right. Like that's most of a deluxe. I mean, if you're talking 30, yeah, 30 Canadian, yeah, that's most of a deluxe. That's like that's like two of these little core class guys. Oh wait, I got Rat Trap here, Kingdom Rat Trap. That's both of these guys.
Well, like just shipping is like both of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And I'm
crazy.
like, why not just go and get 2 core class guys? I heard all the ones I've handled have been pretty good.
Okay. And let's see. And sometimes I'll put in pre-order to solidify my order from U.S. companies till I see it in a Canadian retailer. Then I'll go there.
Yeah, that's what I used to do. Because, like I said, I used to get things off Hasbro Pulse, even though the shipping was crazy. And that was when Generation Selects first started, and it was like a Hasbro Pulse thing. And sometimes Toys R Us would carry it, sometimes EB Games would carry it, but it wasn't really consistent. So I'd like put things on pre-order there, and then wait and see if a Canadian place was going to get them, and then cancel them when they did. Nowadays, I don't bother because EB Games gets all the Generation Select stuff, so I just go straight through there. Or, sorry, it's GameSpot now. They just changed their name literally like 2 weeks ago to the American name.
They actually did that.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, just capitalizing on like on everything that happened months ago.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the same company. They just have a different name in Canada for some reason, so it's more like brand unification.
Okay.
Like all my orders and stuff are fine. It's nothing but a cosmetic change. So.
Right. So Lee says, all these, I hear about them with a very low price.
Yeah, I hear about them too. All the American fans I talk to, stuff will. That's where you go for deals. Stuff will show up at Ollie's, and it'll be like. Full disclosure, Professor D may feel similarly. Yeah. I was gonna say Ollie's is where they'll be like, Siege Ultra Magnus has just shown up there, like, and it's like the cost, it's like half price, and everybody be like, oh, I gotta go get those. And like sometimes the big Titan class figures like Trypticon or whatever would show up there ages after the fact, and they'd be like half off, and all these Americans would be scrambling to get it, and there'd even be like Canadians trying to fence it from there because even with the exchange and shipping, it was still cheaper.
Right.
So we don't have Ollie's in Canada. I've heard legends. I've heard tell of this place, this wondrous place of extremely cheap large figures.
I've heard of it as well.
Yeah.
What did you guys hear?
Oh, about Ollie's, this American chain that'll just randomly get older Transformers figures in for like really cheap, and they'll get like Titans that are half off and stuff, like after the fact. And
really,
it's like it's like an American only thing. There's a thing I remember. There was a point where they got Trypticon like after the fact, like months and months and months after it came out, and there was a lot of them, and they were like half price, and everybody was trying to get them, and people in Canada were trying to get in touch with Americans they knew, because even with the exchange rate and shipping, the ones that were on at Ollie's were like so cheap, right? So like I wish we had this place here.
Well, it's called Subu Play Sports because I think what this guy does is he's probably looking at all the overstock that a lot of stores or companies they may have, and they just want to get rid of it because it's been on the shelves for a long time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's what it actually is.
Right. And so once he gets so he probably buys them like like a quarter of a dollar there, right? And he sells it cheap, right? And that's what Super Play Sports does, or like Winners and Marshall and all that, right? So
the Winners, Marshalls, I think there's one others. Like it's they just sell the overstock of from the major retailers.
Right. But then again, when you have these smaller stores like these collectible stores, when they find that Trypticon, then they're not selling it for cheap. They're
doing the opposite.
Yeah. Right. Because it's a collector, right?
Yeah.
So, it's crazy, man.
So D says, for example, he also can occasionally resort to raising his voice for results, and it seems to work much better in person than online.
Is he still coming after me? That's right, D. All I ever see is Cyberverse here. Everything else is picked and clean. Yeah, Lee is correct.
That franchise got a raw deal because that's a good show. I'll always go to bat for that show. Cyberverse was good. The episodes were only 10 minutes, and also they were like speed running Transformers lore. So it had a little bit of everything in terms of like styles. People kind of slept on that show, but it was like real good. I think it's getting a couple. Yeah, I think it's getting a couple more TV movies now, even though it's already over. But yeah, they just gave it like the worst line imaginable. It was like all gimmick stuff and like all poorly made gimmick stuff. And then near the end, they like belatedly made a few regular deluxes. Like I picked up their hot rod because of course I did. And that one's all right, but it just didn't make a regular line for it for some reason. I'm like, they got a raw deal for such a good show.
It's unfortunate, and somehow that reminds me of Batman Beyond. Like that was a slept on cartoon, and yet like it was well ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got a question here because I remember seeing something on our Facebook post, and Mr. Lee kind of reminded me of it. So what's this thing? We also forgot to discuss the transforming General Lee.
Yes.
Is there such a?
Because I'm gonna like pretty soon. I'm gonna be setting up to close up shop. Right. So I want to get into this. So General Lee, what's going on with General Lee?
This is just for example. This is the regular deluxe hot rod they did for Cyberverse. Like too little, too late. Nice little flame effects. Like those are compatible with Siege, so like they obviously had the collector market in mind. But yeah, continue.
So do you know anything about this General Lee, my spin, Anthony?
I know of the car. I'm loosely familiar with the show. As far as I know, they're not doing a like crossover or anything, like a collaborative.
Well, there was a character that I believe like a Transformer generally that came out, and I think someone else had made a custom of it like a couple years ago. It was more on the debate on the Confederate flag than anything else.
Boy.
You know, which does become that whole huge debate. But I guess just before we jump into that. And so I know, so D said Spin became less into new Transformers media when he started getting into his newer hobby of life, which is true. You know, life just took over at that point. And Lee was speaking on the website. Speaking about the website.
I'll be right back.
Superb.
All right, and. So the magical age of getting into something, yes. So yeah, around 10 11 for myself, and then like 10 for you. So it just seemed to be that age that worked.
Yeah. Not to distract, but like I have a collaborative here that I picked up, the Back to the Future DeLorean, the Autobot Gigawatt.
Nice.
Just randomly, like I'd watch the movies as part of a movie night that I do every Saturday with some of my friends. Anthony, I could tell it was authentic. You were clearly hearing my voice in your head. It's like that meme of Prime with a speech bubble saying, "You are reading this in Peter Cullen's voice." Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
But yeah, I just randomly picked this guy up like last week, and like, surprisingly well done. I'm only just mentioning it because this is an actual collaborative they did.
Now, does that one have LED lights in it? Because I've seen that somewhere, or unless someone customized theirs.
It must have been customized. This is a deluxe figure. It actually uses some of the engineering from Siege Sideswipe.
Okay.
Yeah. You got the little removable thing, and you got the little lightning rod you can stick to the back, like at the end of the first one. And
oh, nice. Okay.
You got the wheels that can do the hovering mode.
Oh, nice. Okay, from like part 2.
Yeah. And most importantly, even though it only shows you robot bits underneath, the doors can do the thing.
Nice. Yeah, like a true DeLorean.
Yeah. I'll just quickly change this off camera while we continue to discuss things. Yeah, and it's funny too, because this isn't new. This is like old. This was out like last year.
Okay, what I miss? What I miss?
Oh, we're speaking about
Oh,
the.
I was just showing them the collaborative DeLorean that they did.
Oh, that's nice.
I was just in the middle of transforming him. He's not even remotely new. I just randomly picked him up last week because I watched the Back to the Future trilogy with some people I do movie nights with on Saturdays.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, you know what? My EB game still has this guy somehow, even though we sold out most places.
So I've seen the Ghostbuster one. I've seen
Yeah.
the Star Wars one.
They made a lot of Star Wars ones because those predate the current round of crossovers.
Yeah. I've seen like the Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola kind of thing. I've seen running shoes.
Yeah.
Right?
They did an X-Men one recently that changes into the Blackbird, but it's like mad expensive. It's like leader class.
Oh, is it that big? But it also looks
Probably just
a little bit it's kind of like they combined a whole bunch of characters into one, because I think the face looks like Cyclops, but it has like the arms of Wolverine and in the Blackbird, and it's like they're trying to. It's like you put too many ideas into one idea and it becomes a bit messy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like all the X-Men together somehow.
Yeah.
Did you guys wrap up the General Lee comment then?
Well, actually, I think what we will do is save the General Lee for next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't got much to say about that right now.
For me, it's very simple. You just get rid of the flag and put the number on top of the I mean, on the top part of the car, and there you go. Next.
Yeah, because it just got me thinking about collaboratives because this is the only one I got here.
I would like to see the A-Team one.
Yeah, and Lee's mentioning the Mystery Machine. Now I've said this before that I'm pretty plugged into the leak squad, who like is gradually leaks things that are coming out and has generally been proven fairly accurate. And they say there's going to be a collaborative of Universal Monsters Dracula. They don't know what he changes into, but that's supposedly going to be the next one, Dracula.
I know, but would he transform into like a rat bat?
Maybe. Some people think that he's going to be a retool of Mindwipe because he changes into a bat, but
Interesting.
yeah.
Or like a seeker-ish kind of transformer?
Yeah, maybe. Like we don't know what he's going to be. We just know that that's probably what the next one is. And like, you know, because it's the leakers, it might be false, but like they've generally proven to be pretty accurate over time.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see if I mean, you know, we are going to save it generally for next week, but I guess to give the hint out there, you know, of Transformers 80s. And actually, I don't think there was any 90s vehicles. But you know, the like for us to think about for the next 6-7 days between Kit, generally, Mystery Machine, Fall Guy, Truck, you know, the
Fall
18
Guy.
Ben, you know,
Holy.
you know, and then I mean, even with Dukes of Hazzard, like there's multiple vehicles in that. Cause I mean, they had a Jeep just like Hound, you know, tow truck, like I mean, there's
What about
multiple.
movies?
What
Movies
about
from
movies?
the movies from the 80s, like was Cannonball Run from the 80s, or was that like late 70s?
That's like a 70s movie.
Yeah, I think 70s. Well, it's funny because like from movies, almost in terms of like the vehicle being a star is more TV shows than movies.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you have the Trans Am from Cannonball Run, right? Oh no, Smokey
Right.
and the Bandit too.
Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, and then you had James Bond.
I can't think of a specific vehicle for James Bond though.
Well, he had the
His Aston Martin, maybe.
Well, his Aston Martin, but he also had, I think, the Lotus that turned into a submarine. That white vehicle that he had.
Okay.
With not Sean Connery, Roger Moore. That's it.
Yeah.
He had that one. And actually looked pretty cool.
Yeah. I think they should. I think an obvious thing would be to pick a Batman and make a Batmobile collaborative. Because I think
Yeah.
that's a license to print money if they can pull it off. Doesn't even matter which Batmobile. Do a whole line of them. You know.
Well, that's funny. I was gonna say which because
Do a
which
combiner
Batmobile.
form.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
combine like
that
a
would be
combiner
cool.
Batmobile. What's called
So
figure
so
set.
that Adam West
Yeah.
yeah. So which
The,
one? Adam West
the the ones that come to my mind are Adam West,
yeah.
Michael
that
Keaton.
early Tim
Keaton.
Burton Batmobile, yeah, the
Yeah.
Keaton one,
Yep.
the
Dark
animated
Knight.
series, Batmobile from like the '90s. That's a very iconic one,
Yeah.
Yes.
and the
Dark
big
Knight.
tumbling tank from Dark Knight. Yeah.
And now
So
you
is
have the
that
new one. Hold on, but you also gonna have the new one that's gonna be
Oh
coming
yeah,
out
that's true. Yeah,
with
I don't even know what that
Patterson
looks
there.
like.
It
Yeah.
looks like a really, really souped up, Fast and the Furious kind of muscle car.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be like a normal car because he's just starting out and all of his stuff is like low quality on purpose. That's the vibe
right?
I've been getting. You know.
Well, there's
So,
another combiner set right there. If you were talking about
Yeah.
90s movies, Fast and the
Yeah.
Fury.
Yeah, I wonder about. I might be wrong about this because, like, I looked this guy up. By the way, I transformed him here, the Back to the Future guy. Like, he's licensed from Back to the Future, right? Like, with the people that own the movie rights.
mhm.
By the way, he's got his flux capacitor on his chest, which I
Yep.
think is neat. And you can really tell that he's based on Sideswipe in this form.
Yeah.
But yeah, they licensed him. They didn't actually license the DeLorean part of him because he's altered enough that the time machine in the movie is different enough that they didn't have to. So he doesn't say GMC on his hood.
Interesting.
And like the Ecto One is like a fictionalized vehicle, and you know, oh God, what were the other ones there? Like the Blackbird's just a fake vehicle, so it can be whatever, right?
Mhm.
Though they did Maverick from Top Gun, and that's a real jet fighter. But I think it's more difficult to do those ones because you're dealing with like two levels of licensing because you have to license the rights to the movie or show or whatever, and then also get the license to the car. And getting licensed vehicles is already like a complicated, expensive thing in Transformers. That's why they usually don't do it outside of the movie lines, right?
Right.
So
Well,
like,
that's what happened with Ferrari, right? With Dino there.
yeah, and that's why the people were clamoring over the Netflix version of Bumblebee so much because they happened to sneak in the rights to make this guy a VW while they were licensing like the Bumblebee movie guys. Like they just re-released him in a big multi-pack, and he's not allowed to be a VW already. He's a like a cliff jumper type car now.
But we came up with an Airwolf one.
Yeah. But what I was getting at is
Blue Streak and Airwolf. There you go.
Yeah, what I was going to get at is like something like Fast and Furious. It might be difficult to do because you'd have to do two different kinds of licensing because you'd need the real cars because I know they use real cars in those movies, and you need like
Right.
the movie license. So I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but I'm like, I wonder if that'd be difficult because then again, Top Gun did it, but I don't know how the Top Gun thing works.
Well,
It's just something I think of.
The only way I could see something like that happening with Fast and Furious is if they take like the Stunticons, right?
Yeah.
and put like a whole bunch of import, stickers on it, right?
Yeah.
And they're robbing Motormaster from the first, the first movie when they were trying to rob what's called, that truck full of goods. So they're robbing Motormaster, right?
Yeah. This is the part where I admit I have not seen one Fast and Furious movie in my life.
There were a
Shame on
few.
you.
Like
There were a few.
there were a few hit and miss. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the recent one because like a lot of people have made fun of it.
Yeah, we don't talk about Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, we don't talk
I
about
know
that one.
that's not a
But
racist one.
yeah, there's a couple good ones, and then the rest are like, nah.
You know what? Movies like that, and you could throw in Transformers as well too. They're just fun movies. That's all they are.
Yeah, I've heard good
wanna,
things.
Yeah, I know, but
honestly.
you know what? It's you just want to go and just want to watch a fun movie. Like you don't want to over cycle analysis the whole entire thing. Like, oh, that's impossible. Like a free arrow flying into outer space, right? Like Yeah, it's part of the movie. So like it's spoiler. It's just fun. Like something stupid happens. You're like, wow, that's just freaking stupid, but I like it, right?
Yeah,
That's if you want to watch a really complex movie, then go watch Seven, right? But don't compare Seven with Fast
wow.
and the Furious. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
seven's quite a movie, but I mean, there's a certain limit to fun and intelligence. Where I mean, you go at like the classic car shows, and it's like, if you see the car jumping, it's the car, that like there's a stunt driver in it, and they're doing the stunts within the limits of the vehicle, and
Mhm.
like, a
But
vehicle
it's a
like
movie.
hitting a ramp wouldn't land in space. Like, it's just going to like jump over another car and then land back on the road, and they'll quickly change the scene because you don't see like, that car actually was damaged. So they'll go back to like the actual nice car that they use for the scene.
Yeah.
But a car in space, like at a certain point, be like, okay, this is getting a little bit ridiculous.
Okay, we're a bunch of 40 years old watching Transformer cartoons, right?
But even but there were
You keep
certain
this perspective,
realities
right?
within that. No, this is true.
Right? And that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes there are just movies that out there that are just for fun. You
Yeah.
don't take
Mhm.
it serious, right? And so, like those kind of movies I like to watch. Like, look at Lee, space and muscle cars, can't go wrong. You see, right? But I would like to see it being nice. Like maybe that's something where Transformers or Hasbro could say, hey, you know what? Let's get that cycle again of getting people interested back into collecting figures, and that could be part of it, man. That could probably might something to help push that line again and get some interest and buzz, saying, hey, there's a Fast and Furious combiner set coming out, right?
Mhm.
And start doing what we just talked about. But that's something we could discuss more in the next show, right?
Yes.
Mm. It's
We
gonna.
won't go down the road of at least some intelligent writing or connection between the movies. You know, a plot, like a logical plot.
Yeah,
It's all about the family. Come on, Mike.
I just had the pleasure like 2 weeks ago. That same movie night I mentioned, I do it Saturdays with people over Discord, and we
Cool.
we have a big list, and we like roulette roll what we're gonna play. I got to
Nice.
show a bunch of people Bumblebee that had never seen it before, and that went over real well. So I'm like,
Nice.
hey, it
Nice.
exists. There's potential for that. And I got to be
Mhm.
like, hey, they're making another one, 2022. There's Beast Wars in it. There you go. Suddenly, a bunch of people are interested.
Have you heard any leaks about Bumblebee 2?
Rise of the Beast, you mean?
Oh, sorry. Rise of the
Yeah.
Beast, even though it's Bumblebee 2, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've already nothing new since they first like leaked. Like we know, '94, the director of Creed 2,
Yeah.
Anthony Ramos is the star. Optimus, Cheetor, Rhinox, Air Razor are in it.
Mirage.
Uh, Peter Cullen's back as Optimus. Yeah, Mirage,
Yeah.
RC, Bumblebee. Bumblebee's like
Okay.
an off-road version of the Camaro.
Yeah.
Uh, the bad guy is Scourge, and his design is apparently like every Scourge put together because he's got like, yeah, and this is not rumors. This is like there was a press conference that like all the sites got to go to.
Mhm.
The bad guy's Scourge, and he has the beard and the claws of the G1 guy, but he changes into a black. Yeah, like he's got the beard and the claws that he had, but
Okay.
he changes into a black truck like the robots in disguise one that was like the template for Nemesis Prime,
Yeah, but hold on.
and
Is this Scourge from like Armada?
uh, there was no Scourge in Armada. There
Oh
was a
no.
Scourge. There was a Scourge in Robots in
Is this
Disguise, and there was
guys?
one at
That's
the
right.
Cybertron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nightbird's going to be one of his flunkies too, and that might
Okay.
be connected to Unicron. I don't know, maybe not. That part's a little vague, but yeah, that's everything we know. 2022, it's happening, and it's
Hmm.
following Bumblebee. It's what he's up to in 1994. I'll tell you one thing though. We were watching the Bumblebee movie there. It's set in like 80, what is it, like 88, and it's just got wall to wall 80s tracks, right? Like they lay it on kind of thick early on, and then we're like, oh man, the new one's going to be set in 94. Does this mean they're just going to be bumping like 90s tracks constantly the whole way through if they keep this energy? Because I'm down for that.
I say like they did a good job in terms of like their 80s references. So if they do the same job for the 90s references, like it should play out perfectly.
So so here's a good question then. What songs? Okay, so it's a two-part question. So what songs would you like to hear on there? What song most likely will probably be on there?
That's very difficult because I got to check what was out in 1994. Like a lot of my 90s music tends to be like mid to late 90s, so it's all a bit too late to show up there.
Because no, sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like Bumblebee was good about making stuff that was already out by like 88 when it was set.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking if they're setting it for 94, we're probably going to hear like Vanilla Ice, some MC Hammer, some CNC Music Factory.
Can't touch this.
Yep.
Oh like God, I hope not.
Some house music.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they play, some Public Enemy.
Definitely, that would be cool.
Right.
I
was just gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if they play some some grunge music as well too.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the Billboard year-end Hot 100 singles, and I'm like, I hope these aren't here actually. Well, okay. I mean, they got Boys to Men, they got Mariah Carey singing Hero. Like,
that's in there for sure. Yeah, Mariah Carey for sure. That's in there. Lee has mentioned Kid and Play. So Lee is old school to mention Kid and Play.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be interesting to see in the movie.
Regulate by Warren G and Nate Dogg. I'm like, okay, I'd love to see that in a Transformers movie. You know what? For sure they're gonna have Tupac and Biggie. Like I bet for sure they will have one of those two in there. Yeah. Oh, Salt and Pepper. Yeah, okay.
Push it. No, but that's in the 80s.
Well, Calvin mentioned Linkin Park.
Yeah. Hold on.
This is not 94.
Hold on. Linkin Park has already been done in Michael Bay.
Yeah. Oh, they got what is it? I'll Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That by Meatloaf. Half of these are good suggestions. Half of these are horrible suggestions that loop around to being good again.
Yeah, like that song has been good like every decade.
What about I'm Too Sexy?
Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg. Put that in.
Oh yeah, you know what? Not only would Snoop Dogg like a Snoop Dogg track be in a in the new movie, like Snoop Dogg would be in the movie. Yeah. Like he's just that person to reinvent himself like every single year. Like he just does something different.
Did he not transform in one of his videos into a
dog?
Yes, he did.
So there you go.
It's like a Wars movie.
and then you see him transform into a dog. You see some guy in the background and screams like, "I knew it!"
Let's see, Pearl Jam, Real McCoy, Aerosmith.
I can see that a little bit on the edge.
Oh, God. You know what was 1994, according to this? What Is Love?
Baby, don't hurt. I can see that. If there's like
I could fully see that. Yeah. And if they give... Actually, now I'm trying... Because I only saw the Bumblebee movie once. He didn't have his voice, did he?
No.
At the start, he did. He lost it early on.
So you know what? They're probably going like, if anything, they'll probably play that song like through how Bumblebee uses the radio to speak.
It probably maybe against like he's fighting against Nightbird.
Yeah. And like, I mean, that's what they did when the part that made. I mean, outside of the Cybertron thing, the part that made my advanced screening full of Transformers fans go nuts was when he played The Touch for a second, and it was that exact context. He's trying to encourage Charlie to dive off the cliff, and he plays it for a second, and the theater was like, "Ah!"
There you go. Too legit to quit there. Another one.
Yep, MC Hammer.
Oh my goodness, man! There's so many '90s songs you can reference.
I just rewound 1 year to '93, and I'm like, "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston. Oh my god!
Yeah, I better stop.
I think what's going to end up happening is like all of us are just going to end up going to watch the new movie, and it's just going to end up like being a like a high school jam all over again.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, if that's the case, then they got to play Bill DeVoe. Poison.
Oh, yep.
Poison.
Yeah, but that's from the '80s, right? So that's from the no, that was the '90s.
Nope, that was '90s. Probably get some Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince in there. Like there's a handful of things that they could get in there.
There's some good songs. There's some both good and bad songs on here. You got Rhythm is a Dancer, but they got that. I'm gonna be the man. I'm gonna be the man that walked 1,000 miles.
Wow! You know what? I can see that song for sure on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smith and Wesson.
Let's get
on. No, that would be crazy if they got some underground hip hop in the movie as well.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Well, I mean, it would fit the setting because that's the other thing I forgot. Like, it's set in New York at least partially, because half of these leaks came from the fact that they were filming in Montreal, and it was doubling for New York.
Okay.
And we already know like Anthony Ramos is going to be the star, and like I forget the director's name. I'm going to look it up because it feels disrespectful because he did Creed 2 and I liked Creed 2.
Well, if it's going to be based in New York, like they're and they're really going with the theme of it being 90s, like you're going to hear like the 90s music and the 90s underground hip hop because that's when hip hop was like at its height around that time.
Well, leader
Stephen Capel Jr. That's the guy's name. Stephen Capel Jr.
Busta Rhymes will show up in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna say like the director, the cast, the setting. I'm like, I fully expect it to have like a hip hop heavy soundtrack. Might be wrong, but that's probably what it's gonna be, and I would love that. And that's all early '90s stuff because that's the setting,
Nice.
Yeah, but early '90s hip hop was. I hate to say it. I shouldn't say I hate to say it. I'm proud to say it. It's like the best era when it comes to hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So I can see something. You know what? See, the cool thing about these movies, right? When they based it on back in the old days, like the era that we grew up, obviously we're gonna rock out to it because it's the music, it's the soundtrack that actually helps the music as well too, for to bring part of that nostalgia too, right? So, once you hear that song, and especially if it's like in a cool fight scene or something like that, you're like, yeah, I remember that, and you're just like, that's great. So I hope they do a good job with this Transformers soundtrack. They did with Bumblebee's soundtrack for the 80s.
I would say which movie is Captain Marvel, because that was kind of based in like the time frame was around like around that same 90-ish 80s, and there was some songs in there that I haven't heard in years, and I'm like they did a good job with that. Especially one song is like the name slips my mind at the moment, but I remember listening to that song a lot when it came out like years ago.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Captain Marvel was set in '95, so exact same time period.
So there's definitely gonna be some good music, and rightfully so, right? So again, when you have a good movie, that's a really good fun movie. Because I thought Bumblebee was a really good fun movie, and when you put a nice soundtrack behind it, right, it just makes that movie even more special. That's just my opinion, right? But I hope they do the same thing with this one.
Lee mentions Allison in Chains, Man in the Box.
Yeah, that's a good track too.
And Gangstar, Code of the Streets. Helter Skelter, Lex Coops, Beamer, and Benz. Yeah, I'd be surprised. That one might show up as well.
Lex Coops and Benz. Think about that. Those are like short names for vehicles, right? So, Oh my goodness, man.
Yep, 90s music highly underrated. Like this is like a show in itself. Just
Yeah,
guessing, like
you know what? I
Yeah.
think
all the music
Like,
for the upcoming movie.
this is
I'm
what
just
we're
like,
gonna do. Let's just pause right here for the movies, and let's combine that with
like
the '90s movie combiners, and put what's it called? The music, like the music soundtrack that we'll put behind that. You know what I mean?
yeah, because I'm like, all right, this is good homework. Because I'm like, all right, and it was Brooklyn, not New York, which I understand to New Yorkers is an important distinction. So it's like,
Hey, no,
this is your homework. Like the movie is set in
Captain
1990.
America and Spider-Man.
Yeah. So I'm like, the movie is set in Brooklyn. No music after 1994 because that's the year it takes place in. It's like
Mhm.
assemble your track listing. I'm gonna look up how many
Yeah.
songs were on the Bumblebee album.
Nice. Okay. So TF Click, yes, 90s music is highly underrated,
Yep.
and it also depends in terms of where you lived. Because I mean, for us being in Canada, 90s hip hop was the college and university stations because we still didn't have commercial stations playing any of this stuff. Which then reminds me of the commercial stations that would play something. Fuji's is probably going to end up in the movie,
Yeah.
for sure. Like Lauryn Hill or at least one of their songs has to be in it.
Was that stuff? Were they around in '94? I don't know what the timeline is on that.
I believe they were, unless they were 96, but I know they did come out with a few songs just slightly before that.
Oh yeah, the one everybody knows from Lauryn Hill, which is That Thing, was a '98, so it's a bit too late. I just looked that up on
Okay.
instinct because I was like, that's a good scene setting background track to play like in the middle of a moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Okay, so Bumblebee movie was six. The album is 16 tracks long, but 2 of those are new songs, so like that doesn't count. So it was like 14 licensed '80s songs that they used, and they all showed up in the movie somewhere.
Okay.
So like my homework would be like, all right, I'm busy this week, so I can't do this. This is for y'all.
Okay.
I got a wedding coming up for a friend's wedding, but that's besides the point.
Okay.
I'm helping put that together. So it's like, okay, it's 14 tracks, nothing after 1994. Assemble your ideal dream Rise of the Beast soundtrack,
That would be cool. I'm gonna
Yeah.
put that topic out for the week leading up to next week's show. So
Yeah.
between
like-
that and the General Lee.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's set in Brooklyn, so maybe an angle towards artists that were somehow in that area or part of that scene,
Mhm.
New York, Brooklyn, that stuff. I wouldn't make that a hard requirement, but I'm like, that would help, just to paint the pic. We don't know what the movie's mood or tone is going to be. But like, if that's the backdrop, that can sort of help,
Mhm.
I'm back.
So I said the homework. Assemble your dream Rise of the Beast soundtrack. Bumblebee movie had 14 songs on it that were licensed
14?
80s. Yeah, and they were all used in the movie too. Like they added, there was actually 16 because there were 2 new songs because the theme song and and a remix. So like that's why I said 14.
Okay, can we call it dibs?
I mean, if you want. I'm like,
Beastie Boys
like-
called it.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's 1994 and the setting is Brooklyn, New York and stuff. So that's like that's the mood,
All right, called it.
14
Yeah.
songs for 94. Like
I got 2
Yeah.
songs already from Beastie Boys, so called it.
And like they can predate 1994.
Ooh, Beastie Boys.
Yeah. They can predate 1994. It's just 1994 is the cutoff point. So you can go
Right.
like 93, 92, 91,
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yep,
Just
yep.
nothing after that because they wouldn't have existed at that point.
Mhm.
Yep, there we go. I got 2. I got 2 already.
Yeah.
Lee says that's awesome. I have some homework, so yeah, like this is definitely something that we'll share around the group and reconvene with for next Sunday.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be 14. Just that's how many they pulled out for Bumblebee. So that's probably the amount we're looking at,
All right. But you see, Lee, you come on the show, you learn something, and now you got homework.
Me, Ragged Death.
Oh my goodness! I never heard
Ragadeath.
Death.
Wow,
Oh my
that's
god!
a reference that most people wouldn't remember.
I know. Eh? Okay, Lee, stop because we're gonna start. I'm gonna start giving out my list already, man. So, guys, if you guys want to continue, please do so. I gotta start wrapping up because I think I had enough at work. I gotta get ready for my night shift. Yep, definitely.
Professor D, it's not even set in Canada. It's set in New York. They may be filming in Montreal, but it's not set in Canada.
No, no, Anthony. It's a inside joke.
Oh,
But yeah, they'll probably have a maestro on there. Like this is well, I mean we've got 20 minutes left to be for tonight's episode, but definitely there's going to be a lot of good references of anything up to like say like even 93ish.
Okay, could we add? So since we're a Canadian, I guess talk show, whatever you want to call it, right? I guess we have to go with what's it called, the CTRF, whatever they call that here. So we have to add at least one Canadian context to the.
There's your.
I know. I would say, Lee, you're killing me here, man. Like seriously, man. Okay. Put that on your list.
Lee knows. Lee knows.
Yeah, okay, and so we have to add at least one Canadian song. How about that? That will fit that Transform movie.
Yeah. Rocktimus was his name. Yeah. I was going to say...
All right, guys, I got to go because I got to get ready for my overnight shift guy I got to prep him up.
All right.
And I got to get out of here because I've been at work since, 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Respect the hustle. Respect the hustle.
Yeah. So remember, customer service, my friends. Customer service. Okay. Guys, have a good night. Peace out. D, I love you. I hope we get to see you next week on the show. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
All right. So we have 15 minutes. Sorry, go ahead.
TF Collector's saying great tune. I think it's 1989-90. So that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they'll get funny and pull something from like the 70s or whatever for no reason.
I mean, and then back then it's like a lot of hip hop within that earlier time did a lot of sampling from the 70s, so you never know.
Yeah. I don't have the brain space for this, but I want to. Maybe if I have time, I'll put one together, but I don't know. I'd need to do some research.
Well, I'd say the one cool thing, I mean, just going from the list that everyone's been mentioning, it's like you think of the time frame that like, of like the era of music you really like, and within like 10 minutes, like you've just got a list of like 50 things you wish that you would want in the movie.
Yeah. I'm like, what you do is you find some tracks that are cool and then you play them and then you imagine like, oh, what would be happening in the movie while this was on?
Yeah. Which I mean, like my, music playlist like that I have on my phone, like half of it is stuff from the 90s. Like I just, I can't connect to a lot of the newer music. So D says, peace out to Mike. And Lee says, I grew up a metalhead, but a lot of my friends listen to a lot of hip hop, so some rubbed off.
I'm a little bit of everything myself. So yeah, I'm in the same boat.
And with Lee mentioning a metalhead, around the 90s was a lot of hip hop metal crossovers. So then you've got between the Public Enemy and why is their name slipping me? I know D's going to mention it in any moment now. And then you've got Onyx and Biohazard, Run DMC and Aerosmith. I can't remember the name of Public Enemy. That's it, Public Enemy and Anthrax. Yes, thank you, Lee. So I mean, there was a lot of rock a lot of rock crossovers back then.
Mm.
So it'd be surprising to see that fall into the movie, or into our list of of movies, or into the list of music that we wish to be in the movies.
Come on, bring the noise.
Yep.
I'm presuming that's what that is.
Yeah, that was actually a big tune back in that time as well.
I
Well,
don't know. See,
mhm.
this was like slightly before my time, which makes it a little more difficult because I'm like, yeah, I was alive, but I was born in '88. I
Right.
was 6. I was 6 years old, so I'm not totally up on what was big in '94.
Right. Well, TF Collect says Aerosmith Run DMC was 1984-ish. Why do I not remember it being that far back? Yet, even though it was, I mean, it's still it's been a hit. It's one of those songs that's been a hit, like multiple years, multiple decades. Um, so I mean, that's the one thing that they'll get it, that they can kind of get away with, up until '94. Whereas like there's certain songs, like they were just good any year, like every year in a sense.
Yeah, so like it wouldn't matter like if they were being used or not. Like I wonder if they'd like. I'm like there wasn't any Transformers media in the early '90s, so there's no songs you could resurrect, because it's not like I feel like them playing the touch was like a one-time thing. They're never going to be able to repeat that.
Right. Um,
Unless
Although, what's funny is there were a handful of hip hop songs that actually made Transformers references around
yeah.
that time. So now I have to see whether or not those songs were before '94, which I think at least one or two of them were.
Yeah, it's like the weirdness of the fact that the new the modern Star Trek movies, that trilogy there, prominently use the Beastie Boys multiple times, and the Beastie Boys mention like Mr. Spock in their songs and stuff. So people were just
Oh,
like thought it
nice.
was. So people were like, so what do they think in universe of these songs mentioning this person?
That's cool.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of the new Star Trek movies.
Oh, they're they're people have mixed opinions, but I really liked them, and I say this as somebody that used to watch the old shows back in the day. So
Okay.
they're fun. They're like they're great like standalone things. You can just watch them without knowing the show or anything, which is the best bit.
Okay, that's cool. So what reviews do you have for us this week?
Oh, okay. Let me tell you. uh, so tomorrow, and I have this all queued up. I'm ahead of the game. I just got to hit publish. I'm going to be
Nice.
doing another head to head type thing. I picked up the vintage Rat Trap in Walmart, right?
Okay.
And I reviewed the Kingdom one back in the day, like near the start of the blog. It's over there. So I'm going to do another comparison, do them head to head, and see, same rough size, same rough idea. How does the 96 one compare to the 2020 one?
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm doing a comparison between the two, because they hit a lot of the same ideas. And then, presuming everything goes according to plan, because I got it queued up, my retro one on next Friday will be
Okay.
a look at the old Siege fan battle pack, which I checked. Speaking of Amazon, it's still up there. I checked while I was queuing it up for publishing. So
Okay.
that's the set that's got holographic Mirage and Power Dasher Aragon and one moment, the one everybody wanted the set for when it came out, Impactor, the IDW accurate version.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So this came out in 2019. So that's my retro review for Friday. I'm looking back at that.
Okay. Cool.
Uh, Beyond that, I don't know. I got some ideas. Like I said, I just got Dracodon, the green version of Vertebrake, who I already looked at. Simplest review in the book. Did you like Vertebrake? Do you like Vertebrake in green? Then you'll like Dracodon. I mean, I might have just spoiled the whole thing, but I don't know. Maybe there's more to say.
I really have to understand those characters.
Yeah. Well, they made these two up for Kingdom. They're just like line filler, but they're interesting line filler.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I changed him back from his nightmare mode into his robot mode. I got Kingdom Scorponok. I'll probably do him after that.
Nice.
And then, yeah, like he's old, but I just got the Back to the Future guy. I kind of want to talk about him. He's an interesting little package. So these guys are in the wind for the coming weeks, I think.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And beyond that, I don't know. Whatever I feel like talking about, that's what I do.
Yes.
I don't always talk about new things, right? Because I don't chase the dragon too much. I get new things that I like. If I don't have new things to talk about, I look at old things that are interesting. The latest one up there, the one that I just published, is a look at the old Reveltech action figures from like 2007, because I think they're really interesting in the 2021 context.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I can pull one out here. What do I do with them? Yeah. Here we go.
Actually, while you're doing that, TF Collect says Transformers' darkest period was 91 to 96, so late G1, G2. So that's why you don't associate any music with Transformers of that time. Transformers resurrected with Beast Wars in 96.
I'd just like to point out that while I talk a lot about Beast Wars, remember, I started on Generation 2, so it couldn't have been that dark of a period. That's when I got into it. I watched it before the reruns of some of the Sunbow cartoon before I went to school in like, what would have been, like 94 to 96. So like 6, 7, 8 years old, right? That's where I got started.
Yep.
I don't have any of my old G2 guys anymore because Star Trek Discovery. Yeah. It's not, Discovery's not really my thing, but I respect it. I watched the first couple seasons of it. It's all right.
Okay.
Shot in Toronto, starring one of my future wives. Sonequa Martin Green, I presume. Yeah, she's pretty good in it.
Then actually, a friend of a friend, he actually works the set design for Discovery. So he would show like little hints and stuff. And I remember one scene he showed I'm guessing basically the same android that they used in Next Generation. That was refusing to work, and Data saved it because they realized it was a life form.
Exocomps.
Yes, the exocomps. He had an exocomp on the set that he was building for Discovery, and it was interesting. Within the friends list, only a few of us like realized what that was. But it's just cool to have to know someone actually working on a Discovery set, like the whole set design and everything.
Yeah, I was big into that because same time period, I would watch Transformers Generation 2 before I went to school, and Star Trek: The Next Generation would be on when I got back from school.
Nice.
Can you find her and set her up on a blind date with me?
I
don't think the 6 degrees of separation runs that deep.
Well, it's scary, but it's certain times I think it's almost like 2 degrees of separation in terms of who knows who.
Yeah. I feel like Battle Beast was a missed opportunity for Kingdom with the whole Beast thing. Oh yeah, God, I'd love to see those in something modern. I don't have any. I don't know too much about them, but every time I see a Battle Beast, I'm like, those are cool. They were this big. They were these really small little animal guys.
Okay.
And they're tangentially related to Transformers. There was an episode of the Headmasters anime that they were just straight up in. They visited the Battle Beast planet.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they're sort of a sister franchise. And they're just little animal warrior action figures. They look kind of Masters of the Universe in their designs, but they're all animal people specifically.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
like just so many variations and storylines that eventually that I will get caught up, get a chance to jump into the, catch up to you in terms of your knowledge of Transformers.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how I got how I am. I just fell down a rabbit hole in like 2007. Not, I just never came back. I could know about useful things, but I don't. Instead, I
Sometimes
know all
it's
about this.
those odd those odd tidbits. People like, why do you know that? And like, it just seems cool to know. No one else knows about it.
Maybe if enough people subscribe to our Patreon, I could afford a new webcam.
But this is true. Oh boy. So Discovery Anthony, you're fired.
Hey, I was being respectful. It wasn't really it wasn't totally my thing. There's a lot of stuff I liked. I liked Sonequa Martin Green. I love Doug Jones playing Saru, the tall guy there. He's always great and stuff. I really liked Captain Pike. Really good example of taking like a 50s adventurer and being like, how do we make that work in a 2020 show?
Okay.
I just wasn't super into it, but like I watched 2 seasons worth of it, so like I gave it a while, right? I liked Picard, the new Next Generation show. Like I'll be tuning in when that comes back. So
I have to like I only got a chance to watch a few of the episodes. I have to rewatch season 1 again. I'm really waiting to watch season 2, especially with Q being in it.
Oh yeah, gosh, we're just turning this into a Star Trek show. Like I saw the actor at Fan Expo, like when the first season of Picard was on the air, and somebody was like, "Why aren't you on the show?" And he was like, "It's weird. It's like all my friends were invited to a dinner party, and I'm just waiting for them to call me." And I was like, "Oh." And now he's on there, so I'm like, "Good."
I mean, there was like all sorts of little hints. I mean, between Picard, Stewart asking the Whoopi to come back in season 2, and just like hints from all the previous actors. So it's going to be an interesting, basically like a reunion in a sense.
Yeah, maybe they'll explain why Q and Guinan hate each other. They never said why. They just don't like each other for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think they did explain it in like one of those like small explanations in terms of Q scattering Guinan's people throughout the universe.
That was the Borg. They ran over their planet.
Okay, right, yeah. So there was no. I mean, hopefully they do get into an explanation on that.
Yeah. I had to talking like I'm an expert. I'm not an expert. I just watched a lot of Next Generation back in the day.
I rewatched the entire series last year, like during the lockdowns, like from beginning to end. And so next I want to jump into Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. They need to speak going back to Transformers sort of they made a really nice like 4 or 5 issue long Star Trek Transformers comic there, right?
Right.
It was a crossover between the original series and like Sunbow like G1. Oh yeah, you have a good one too, Lee. I was gonna say, in the pages of that comic, they created they brought Fortress Maximus out, and he scanned the Enterprise, and he became Fortress Tiberius, a transformer that changed into the '60s Enterprise into a robot. And I'm looking over at
the storyline. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm looking over at this collaborative line, and I'm like, when are you gonna make that one? You did a comic. I will buy that transforming Enterprise if you make a figure of that. Please do. Take my money.
Yes, thank you, Lee, for joining us, and we definitely would love to see you again next Sunday. And let's see, NND says Picard was good. He is the best. he is the best, obviously, but Discovery is a better show.
Mm.
So I mean, I've got to watch both to compare.
Yeah, like I will admit that like a part of me liking Picard is just entirely because like as he always does in everything, Patrick Stewart is putting his whole ass into making is into just doing the most as that character to like
Yeah,
just run the show, you know?
yeah,
So I'm just like he's just that's the big appeal, right?
yeah. Like it's a like any role he plays, like he puts himself into it.
Yeah. Just uh just locating a picture here, a certain very relevant picture that maybe we can put up. Once I once I press the screen share, which I will do as I talk my way through this process.
He says, "Next Generation is the best Star Trek series of all time, of course."
And there we go, courtesy of the Transformers Wiki. Uh,
Right there, it is.
that is Fortress Tiberius. That's his robot mode. His alternate mode is just the original '60s Enterprise. They just added an Autobot symbol to the front.
Yeah, so I remember seeing that image. I didn't know the storyline that it was Maximus
Yeah,
that did that.
yeah. It's Fortress Maximus scans the Enterprise, and uh, Captain Kirk becomes the headmaster instead of like how Spike did.
Got it.
Yeah, it was an interesting comic. It was kind of like it was specifically the animated series, so it was a little bit silly, but like it was fun. You know, they had fun with it.
Okay.
It was like I have it's in trade paperback if you're looking for it. So
I mean,
it
almost
was
like a what if in a sense.
yeah, that's what it is. It is a what if. It's like what if the Transformers and Star Trek had been in the same universe?
Hmm. Very cool.
Yeah, but yeah, ever since that came out, I'm like, make that figure. Look at it. The design is right there. Just make it happen, right?
You know, people will buy it. You know,
Yeah.
and I guess I'm guessing there's someone somewhere that's working on designing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because like they did this and they did Transformers and Terminator, and neither of those seem to have any like collaborative figures, even though they did like Ghostbusters and Back to the Future comics specifically to sell those ones.
I didn't know they had a Transformers and Terminator.
Oh yeah, I read that one. It was all right. It was another cross. It was like it was another alternate universe what if kind of thing.
Okay. And
That's
then
sort of how they're all structured.
right.
Yeah.
What about the Transformers and My Little Pony? Or are you just
Yeah.
not touching that?
I don't know much about it. I know I know the person that documents it for the Transformers wiki.
Okay.
Um, and he was like knows nothing about My Little Pony and was taking a crash course through it to try and figure out like the cameos and things because he's like, all right, who's in this? I don't know this. Help me.
Right.
I,
Okay.
I will say I don't go there. I don't know anything about it, but the people that like both of those things have said that was a good crossover.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you are a fan of that, I heard it was all right, but you know, it's not my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, wait, which is interesting. It just remind me of a writer from the CBR website
Hmm.
who writes for or does some writing on a Transformers articles, and I think that writer or that website is going to have to fall in under one of the murder primes, like either next week or the week after,
What did
because
they do?
every single time they put out an article, it's in a sense I can't even explain. I can't properly explain how bad their articles are in terms
Yeah.
of the idea or the concepts of what they're trying to say in the article, which is always extremely off.
I was going to say I saw an article, and I think it was CBR, and we were all having a laugh over it because it was a review of the first issue of Shattered Glass, the new comic.
Okay.
And to be fair, I read the book and I realized that maybe this isn't totally unreasonable, but apparently the guy reviewing it didn't get the memo of what Shattered Glass is. And to be fair, nothing in the comic is specifically starts out being like, this is a parallel universe where the factions are switched. So he was like, this is an interesting story because I guess the Autobots won the war and then they turned bad after that. And like this guy was totally unaware of the premise and he was comparing it to like Injustice, like the DC thing, right?
Okay.
Where he's like, I guess the Autobots went bad, and this is like a deconstruction of the story, and everybody was reading it was like laughing at him because I'm like, nobody told him this is just like a mirror universe. And he totally missed the point the whole way through, and it was just really funny.
Wow, I'm gonna have to research if it's the same writer because it just seems that like every article that he puts out, like every article misses the point of whatever he's writing, and I'm like, where? I think the recent one was the idea of Goldbug was a way to introduce or to show that it's okay for children to become an adult. And I'm like, where did you get that from in terms of like, Bumblebee being changed into Goldbug in the Return of Optimus Prime? Like
that was that's a hell of a thing to pull from that. I mean, like, even if I'm being charitable and saying like, maybe he's talking about Marvel as well because they did a little bit more with him there than that. But I'm like, I don't think they needed to sell a new toy. So that wasn't even. I saw that episode. It wasn't even a big part of it. Like they were just like, he's Goldbug now. By the way, anyway, on with the story.
Yeah, it's like that. That's the kind of articles that I'm saying. And I'm like, exactly as you said. How did you come to this from that? And I'm like, did you even watch any of the cartoons or understand anything that's happening?
I mean, like, what about? I mean, like, I still think it's not a great comparison, but like, what about Hot Rod becoming Rodimus Prime and undergoing the struggles of adulthood? I don't know if, like, that's still a bit of a reach, but at least there was a movie and many episodes of a show about that,
Yeah, yep. And actually, that's one idea I have to write down. Hot Rod becoming Rodimus is similar to Lionel becoming leader of the Thundercats.
Yeah. Yeah, because it makes the jump to adulthood, right? I'm not super familiar with Thundercats, but
yeah, I haven't watched Thundercats since the 80s, but basically it's Lionel was a kid when they escaped Thundera and whatever machine or anything changed him into an adult. So it's exactly like Hot Rod. 30 seconds later, now you're an adult.
So it's just like Link in Ocarina of Time. There you go. Go to sleep, wake up, suddenly you're grown up.
Yep. Like how do you deal with that? And it's like not just to go to sleep, wake up, and you're grown up. Like wake up, you're a grown up, but you are now the leader of like this entire team, and like everyone's relying on you and answers, but you just became an adult, like yes, overnight.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's an interesting narrative hook. But again, the obvious one, Rodimus Prime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so the point of the character.
So out of all the characters out of the entire G1 series, I mean, we could even say between Orion Pax, becoming Optimus would have been kind of the same time frame, but Goldbug, out of all the characters in the entire series, like we say that Bumblebee turning to Goldbug is a youth turning into an adult. Like I honestly would never have come up with that ever.
I don't know. He's reaching, you know.
You're speechless. Like that's exactly it.
Yeah. It's not that deep, bro. You know.
I'm going to definitely make a list of the articles that
Yeah.
and just like the points were missed in every article, and like
Yeah.
where or why, what are you thinking, and then how are you allowed to make these articles? Like, I mean, at least your articles make sense, or and to the point, and that are based on facts. Like his are just something.
Mm. I do my research, you know. I when I write my stuff, like I will admit I will skip over things in the interest of brevity, but I'm not gonna make things in present that were not present, you know.
Exactly. Well, I think that is has round up our episode for this evening.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so there's quite a show, and I think a lot that we'll have for next week's show, and I think
yeah,
even the week after that.
yeah. I like how we gradually rotated in and out. You were the only constant.
Yep. Was actually a theme from like old hip hop shows back in the day, where it's like you have the DJ who's on like everyone's set, but certain artists will come on stage and certain artists will leave the stage, but the DJ is always there for the entire show.
Yeah, well, there you go, DJ Spinister and the rest, you know.
Yep. But it was cool hanging out once again with a talented Anthony, Fear or Courage, and to the many guests who came through, and to Mike and Professor D, and TF Collect. Thank you. Yes, as TF Collect says, another great show. Thanks, gentlemen. And Lee came through, Calvin came through, and Bill came through. So definitely a great show once again.
See y'all next week, I guess.
Yes. So, and that is it. All right. And good night and good evening to you and to everyone.
Yep. And look for my stuff tomorrow. Till all are one, guys.
Yes. Remember, check out the childrenofprimus.com and check out the news and reviews and the latest article from Anthony coming out tomorrow morning.
I never know how to sign these things off. I always leave it to you guys.
Right.
I'm the worst at that.
It's a learning experience. So
yeah.
A good night and good evening to everyone.
All right.